Johnny Coleman's heart races as he enters Queen Karina's dimly lit chambers, immediately sensing this special training isn't what it seems. The 28-year-old former Earth military officer, now serving as a human guard in the Sakari Palace, takes in the opulent surroundings. Exotic alien plants line the walls, their bioluminescent fronds casting an eerie glow. His eyes lock onto the massive bed where Queen Karina reclines, her iridescent blue skin shimmering in the low light. "Approach, Johnny," the Sakari monarch commands, her large, mesmerizing eyes fixed on him. "You've been chosen for a mission of utmost importance." Johnny steps forward, his boots sinking into the plush carpet. He's been on the Sakari homeworld for 6 months as part of an interspecies exchange program, but nothing has prepared him for this moment. Queen Karina rises, her tall, slender form towering over him. Human diplomats will arrive soon. Their failure to perform certain Sakari rituals could lead to interstellar war. You must learn our most intimate customs to prevent this catastrophe. Johnny's mind reels. He'd been on a routine night patrol when the summons came. Now he stands before the alien queen, the fate of human-Sakari relations apparently resting on his shoulders. "Your training begins now," Queen Karina declares. "Remove your uniform. It's necessary for the first lesson." Johnny hesitates, his hands hovering over his collar. The queen's gaze intensifies, reminding him of the power dynamics at play. As a guard, it's his duty to follow her commands. As a human, he can't shake the feeling that something's amiss. "The future of our species hangs in the balance," Queen Karina presses. "Only you can ensure peace between humans and Sakari." Reluctantly, Johnny begins to comply. As he unbuttons his jacket, movement catches his eye. Hidden cameras activate around the room, their lenses focusing on him. Suspicion floods his mind. What's the true nature of this training? What consequences await him and humanity if he proceeds? The shimmering fabrics on the queen's bed suddenly seem more ominous than luxurious. Johnny realizes he's stepped into a situation far more complex than a simple diplomatic mission. With each piece of clothing he removes, the stakes grow higher. Queen Karina watches, her alien features unreadable. "Remember, Johnny," she purrs, "this must remain our secret. The fate of 2 worlds depends on your discretion and your performance." As the last of his uniform falls away, Johnny stands exposed, not just physically, but diplomatically. Whatever happens next will shape the future of human-Sakari relations. He takes a deep breath, steeling himself for the training to come, acutely aware that his every move is being recorded for purposes unknown. Johnny's fingers trembled as he unfastened the last button of his uniform jacket. The weight of Queen Karina's gaze and the unseen cameras bore down on him, making each movement feel like a monumental task. Just as he was about to shrug off the jacket, a soft chime emanated from somewhere near the queen's bed. Queen Karina's lips curled into a smile. "Ah, perfect timing. Your first lesson begins now, Johnny." She glided towards an ornate bedside table, her movements fluid and graceful. With a delicate touch, she activated a hidden panel, causing a shimmering holographic display to materialize in the center of the room. Johnny's eyes widened as he took in the detailed schematics of human and Sakari anatomy floating side by side. The 3-dimensional images rotated slowly, revealing intricate details of both species' internal structures. "To truly understand Sakari customs," Queen Karina explained, her voice taking on a more formal tone, "you must first comprehend the biological differences between our species." Johnny found himself drawn to the display, momentarily forgetting his state of undress. The Sakari anatomy was fascinatingly alien, a complex network of bioluminescent organs and unfamiliar circulatory systems. "Our reproduction," the queen continued, "involves a complex ritual that requires precise knowledge of both partners' physiology." As Johnny studied the holograms, trying to process this unexpected turn of events, he noticed a subtle movement from the corner of his eye. A concealed compartment in the wall slid open, revealing a floating orb with a soft blue glow. "Aida," Queen Karina addressed the orb, "begin recording and analysis." The AI, for that's clearly what it was, emitted a gentle hum as it moved closer to Johnny. he felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the device was scanning him. "Now, Johnny," the Queen said, refocusing his attention, "we'll begin with our greeting rituals. Pay close attention to my movements." What followed was a series of increasingly intimate gestures. Queen Karina demonstrated intricate hand motions, her long fingers weaving complex patterns in the air. She guided Johnny through specific body postures, each one seeming to carry deep cultural significance. Johnny struggled to mimic the fluid movements. His human physiology, while adaptable, wasn't naturally suited to the graceful, almost dance-like motions required by Sakari customs. Sweat beaded on his brow as he concentrated, aware of Aida's constant observation and the unseen audience behind the cameras. As the training progressed, the rituals began to involve carefully timed physical contact. Johnny's breath caught in his throat as Queen Karina's cool, silky skin brushed against his. A tingling sensation spread from each point of contact, intensifying with each touch. To his amazement, small bioluminescent patterns began to appear on the Queen's skin wherever they made contact. The delicate swirls of light pulsed in perfect synchronization with his heartbeat. Noticing his fascination, Queen Karina explained, "This is a natural Sakari response to compatible genetic structures. It seems our species may share a deeper biological connection than previously known." As Johnny processed this revelation, a piercing alarm shattered the charged atmosphere of the room. The holographic display flickered and vanished as emergency lights bathed the chamber in a harsh red glow. The door burst open, revealing a tall, muscular Sakari male. His ceremonial armor identified him as Captain Zorn, head of the Queen's security detail. His expression was grim as he addressed them. "Your Majesty, we have a code-red situation. Anti-human extremists have breached the palace defenses. They're making their way here with the intent to assassinate you and frame humanity for the crime." In an instant, Johnny's military training took over. He quickly donned his discarded uniform, muscle memory taking precedence over the lingering awkwardness of the situation. As he retrieved his standard-issue sidearm, he noticed Queen Karina moving with surprising speed and purpose. The monarch approached a section of wall that seemed to shimmer and shift. At her touch, it dissolved, revealing a hidden arsenal of advanced Sakari weapons. With practiced ease, she selected a sleek, energy-based rifle, her regal demeanor transforming into that of a seasoned warrior. "I trust you can handle yourself in combat, Johnny?" she asked, tossing him a similar weapon. He caught it deftly, quickly familiarizing himself with its unconventional design. "Yes, Your Majesty. I'll defend you with my life." A small smile played on Queen Karina's lips. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that. We have much more to discuss once this threat is neutralized." As if on cue, the sounds of battle erupted from somewhere deeper in the palace. Energy weapons discharged, and the shouts of both attackers and defenders echoed through the corridors. Johnny and Queen Karina took up defensive positions near the chamber's entrance, their weapons at the ready. Captain Zorn coordinated with his security forces via a communications device embedded in his armor. As they prepared for the impending assault, Johnny couldn't help but marvel at the surreal turn of events. Just moments ago, he had been fumbling through alien courtship rituals. Now he stood side by side with the Sakari monarch, ready to face a threat that could reshape the future of human-Sakari relations. The Queen's bioluminescent patterns still pulsed in rhythm with Johnny's elevated heartbeat, a constant reminder of the unexpected connection they had discovered. As the sounds of combat drew nearer, he realized that whatever happened next would go far beyond any diplomatic training he could have imagined. The echoes of approaching combat grew louder, snapping Johnny's focus back to the immediate threat. He tightened his grip on the Sakari energy rifle, its unfamiliar contours a stark reminder of how far he was from his Earth-based training. "They're almost here," Queen Karina whispered, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing rapidly in sync with Johnny's elevated heartbeat. As if on cue, the door to the royal chambers burst open with a thunderous crash. 5 Sakari extremists stormed in, their bodies adorned with angry red war paint that seemed to writhe and pulse in the chamber's dim light. At their lead was a scarred veteran, his face a map of old battles and fresh hatred. Johnny's military instincts kicked in instantly. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts that scorched the wall behind him. In a fluid motion, he rolled to his feet and engaged the first two attackers, using his human agility to close the distance rapidly. The extremists, caught off guard by Johnny's speed, fumbled with their weapons at close range. Johnny seized the opportunity, disarming one with a swift strike to the wrist and using the momentum to slam his elbow into the other's solar plexus, or what he hoped was the Sakari equivalent. Queen Karina proved herself far more than a ceremonial figurehead. With practiced precision, she fired her energy rifle, taking down one of the extremists with a well-placed shot that left him convulsing on the floor. As Johnny grappled with his opponents, he noticed strange devices strapped to their wrists. The tech pulsed with an eerie light, seemingly in discord with the palace's own systems. Realization dawned. These must be what allowed them to breach the defenses so easily. "The wrist devices!" Johnny shouted to Karina over the din of battle. "They're interfering with security." The queen acknowledged with a curt nod, adjusting her aim to target the devices. However, before she could fire, a stray energy blast struck one of the exotic plants lining the walls. The impact shattered its bioluminescent fronds, releasing a thick, pungent mist into the air. Almost immediately, the temperature in the room began to rise. Johnny felt sweat beading on his forehead as he continued to fight, the air growing thick and heavy in his lungs. The pheromone-like substance seemed to affect both species, but in different ways. The extremist movements became more frenzied, their attacks wilder and less coordinated. For Johnny and Karina, however, the effect was altogether different. Their movements grew more synchronized, the queen's bioluminescent patterns adapting to match Johnny's combat rhythm. It was as if they were two parts of a single deadly machine. The door burst open again, this time admitting Captain Zorn and a squad of loyal Sakari guards. Their arrival should have turned the tide, but the scarred leader of the extremists, Kraz, Johnny heard one of them shout, had one last trick up his sleeve. With a guttural cry, Kraz activated a device on his belt. A shimmering energy barrier sprang to life, cutting Johnny and Queen Karina off from their reinforcements. Trapped together, they found themselves facing Kraz and his two remaining followers. "Your Majesty," Johnny panted, back to back with the Queen. "Any ideas?" Karina's response was to fire her rifle in a sweeping arc, forcing their attackers to dive for cover. "Just one," she replied. "Stay alive." What followed was a deadly dance of energy blasts and hand-to-hand combat. Johnny and Karina moved as one, their actions perfectly complementing each other. When Johnny ducked, Karina fired over his head. When Karina sidestepped, Johnny was there to intercept the attacker, who thought he'd found an opening. Their unprecedented level of cooperation didn't go unnoticed. Through the haze of battle, Johnny caught glimpses of frantic activity beyond the energy barrier. Scientists and military advisors were furiously taking notes and recordings, their eyes wide with amazement. In a crucial moment, Johnny managed to close in on Kraz, knocking the energy weapon from his hands. Victory seemed within reach, until Kraz revealed a hidden blade, its edge glowing with a sickly green energy. Time seemed to slow as Kraz lunged, not at Johnny, but at Queen Karina. Without conscious thought, Johnny threw himself into the blade's path. He felt a searing pain as it sliced deep into his arm, but his momentum carried him forward, tackling Kraz to the ground. As they fell, Johnny's blood mixed with the bioluminescent fluids from a cut on Karina's cheek. The combination produced an unexpected chemical reaction, a blinding flash of light that filled the room, momentarily stunning everyone present. In the confusion, Queen Karina struck. Using knowledge that spoke of years of combat training, she delivered a precise blow to a vulnerable point on Kraz's neck. The extremist leader went limp instantly. As the light faded and Johnny's vision cleared, he found the remaining attackers surrounded and overwhelmed. The energy barrier flickered and died, allowing Captain Zorn and his team to secure the room. Medical teams rushed in, tending to the wounded on both sides. As a medic examined Johnny's arm, his eyes widened in shock. "Your Majesty, human, look at this!" Where Johnny's blood had mixed with Karina's bioluminescent fluid, the wound was already closing. New tissue formed before their eyes, glowing softly with an ethereal light. Johnny met Karina's gaze, seeing his own wonder reflected in her alien eyes. The queen reached out, her fingers gently tracing the rapidly healing wound. "It seems," she said softly, "that we have much more to learn about each other." Their moment of connection was interrupted as Captain Zorn approached, his expression grim. "Your Majesty, we have reports coming in from across the planet. This attack was not isolated. Human and Sakari targets everywhere are under assault." The implications hung heavy in the air. As medical teams continued to study the miraculous healing of Johnny's wound, he and Queen Karina exchanged a look of shared willpower. Their newfound connection might be the key to preventing an interstellar war, if they could unravel its mysteries in time. The implications of their discovery loomed large, but the immediate threat demanded their full attention. As the chaos subsided, medical teams swarmed into the room, quickly assessing the situation. Johnny winced as a Sakari medic examined his arm, the pain finally registering now that the adrenaline was wearing off. "We need to get you both to the medical bay immediately," the medic insisted, gesturing for Johnny and Queen Karina to follow. Captain Zorn flanked them as they moved swiftly through the palace corridors, his team forming a protective perimeter. The sounds of distant fighting still echoed through the halls, a stark reminder that the danger was far from finished. They arrived at a state-of-the-art medical facility deep within the palace. The room hummed with advanced technology, a seamless blend of human and Sakari design. Johnny marveled at the sophisticated equipment as he was guided to an examination table. Dr. Lyra, the chief Sakari xenobiologist, entered the room with purposeful strides. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene, focusing on Johnny's rapidly healing wound. "Fascinating," she murmured, immediately beginning to take readings with a handheld device. "The cellular regeneration rate is off the charts. I've never seen anything like this in either of our species." As Dr. Lyra worked, Johnny could feel a strange tingling sensation spreading from his arm throughout his body. He glanced at Queen Karina, who was undergoing her own examination nearby. Their eyes met, and Johnny felt a surge of something. It was as if an invisible current passed between them, intensifying the connection they had experienced earlier. "Your Majesty," Dr. Lyra addressed the Queen, her voice filled with nearly unleashed excitement, "I believe we may have stumbled upon something truly revolutionary. The combination of human blood and Sakari bioluminescent fluid has created a compound with extraordinary properties." Queen Karina nodded, her expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Explain, Doctor." As Dr. Lyra launched into a detailed explanation of her findings, Johnny found himself struggling to focus. His senses seemed heightened, every sound and smell in the medical bay amplified. He could hear the steady thrum of Queen Karina's heartbeat, perfectly in sync with his own. "Not only accelerates healing, but appears to enhance physical performance and sensory perception in both species," Dr. Lyra was saying. "With your permission, I'd like to synthesize more of this compound for further study." Queen Karina considered for a moment before nodding her assent. "Proceed, Doctor, but exercise caution. We don't yet know the full implications of this discovery." Johnny cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "I'd like to volunteer for additional testing," he said, meeting Queen Karina's gaze. "If this can help improve human-Sakari relations, I want to do my part." The Queen's bioluminescent patterns pulsed briefly, a subtle sign of approval that Johnny was learning to recognize. "Very well," she agreed, "but we must move quickly. The situation outside these walls is deteriorating rapidly." As if on cue, Captain Zorn burst into the medical bay, his expression grim. "Your Majesty, we have reports of coordinated attacks on diplomatic and military installations across the planet. This goes far beyond a simple extremist cell." Queen Karina's posture stiffened, her regal bearing coming to the forefront. "Who's behind this, Captain?" Zorn's eyes hardened. "Intelligence suggests it's Lord Vex, Your Majesty. He's rallying conservative factions, pushing for immediate war against humanity." Johnny felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard of Lord Vex during his diplomatic briefings, a powerful Sakari warlord known for his xenophobic views and considerable influence among certain segments of Sakari society. Queen Karina's eyes narrowed, her mind clearly racing. After a moment, she spoke with firm drive. "We need to act decisively. Captain, I want you to coordinate with our forces to contain these attacks. Dr. Lyra, continue your research. This biological breakthrough may be key to our strategy. She turned to Johnny, her gaze intense. And you, Johnny, will undergo an intensive crash course in Sakari culture, politics, and physiology. We're going to showcase our newfound compatibility in a public demonstration. Johnny blinked, taken aback by the boldness of her plan. A public demonstration? Are you sure that's wise, given the current climate? The Queen's bioluminescent patterns swirled with persistence. It's a risk we must take. Lord Vex's rhetoric relies on painting humans as incompatible and threatening. We'll prove him wrong in the most visible way possible. As the implications of Queen Karina's plan sank in, Johnny felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He was about to become the face of human Sakari cooperation, with the fate of both species potentially resting on his shoulders. I'm ready, he said, meeting the Queen's gaze with newfound tenacity. Where do we start? Queen Karina's lips curved into a slight smile. With this, she said, reaching out to touch his arm where the wound had been. As their skin made contact, Johnny felt that now familiar surge of connection, stronger than ever before. In that moment, surrounded by the hum of medical equipment and the urgency of their situation, Johnny realized that his journey on this alien world was about to take an even more extraordinary turn. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with dangers, both known and unknown. But one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. As Johnny and Queen Karina prepared for the public demonstration, the tension in the air was palpable. The grand plaza of the Sakari capital buzzed with anticipation, filled to capacity with a mixed crowd of humans and Sakari. Many wore expressions of uncertainty, while others seemed eager for what was to come. Backstage, Dr. Lyra carefully applied the final touches to the ceremonial markings adorning Johnny and Karina's skin. The intricate patterns highlighted the bioluminescent glow that now coursed through both their bodies, a visual testament to their unprecedented connection. This compound is fascinating, Dr. Lyra murmured as she administered a last-minute dose to enhance their abilities. The way it's integrated with your systems, it's beyond anything we've seen before. Johnny flexed his fingers, feeling the energy surge through him. Let's hope it's enough to convince everyone out there. Queen Karina placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a spark of shared awareness between them. Remember, Johnny, we're not just demonstrating a scientific breakthrough. We're showing them a future where our species stand united. He nodded, taking a deep breath. As they stepped onto the stage, the crowd's murmur grew to a roar. Johnny's enhanced senses immediately picked up on the undercurrent of hostility emanating from a group near the back. Lord Vex and his supporters had arrived. As his eyes scanned the crowd, Johnny's newly heightened perception caught subtle movements that seemed out of place. Hidden figures, their postures tense and ready to strike. Assassins. Without breaking stride, Johnny subtly signaled to Captain Zorn, who stood vigilant at the edge of the stage. The captain's eyes widened slightly in understanding, and he began discreetly relaying orders to his security teams. Queen Karina's voice rang out, silencing the crowd. People of Sakari, honored human guests, today we stand on the brink of a new era of cooperation and understanding between our species. As she spoke, Johnny took his position beside her. They began a series of synchronized movements, their bodies flowing in perfect harmony. The crowd watched, transfixed, as their bioluminescent patterns pulsed and swirled in unison, creating a mesmerizing display of light and color. Gasps of awe rippled through the audience. Even some of Lord Vex's supporters seemed captivated by the spectacle. Suddenly, Johnny's enhanced reflexes screamed a warning. Time seemed to slow as he spotted one of the assassins raising an energy weapon, its barrel aimed squarely at Queen Karina. Without hesitation, Johnny launched himself in front of the Queen. The energy blast struck him squarely in the chest, the impact sending him flying across the stage. He crashed into a decorative pillar, slumping to the ground. Screams erupted from the crowd. Queen Karina rushed to Johnny's side, her face a mask of concern. As her hand touched his, a surge of energy passed between them. To the amazement of all present, Johnny's wounds began to close before their eyes. Within seconds, he was back on his feet, standing tall beside the queen. The crowd's mood shifted palpably. Murmurs of astonishment replaced the earlier hostility, especially among the Sakari who had been skeptical of human-Sakari cooperation. Lord Vex's voice cut through the din, filled with rage. "This is nothing but a trick. Humans are a threat to our way of life." At his command, his followers sprang into action. Energy weapons flared to life, and the plaza erupted into chaos. Johnny and Queen Karina moved as one, their enhanced abilities allowing them to dodge blasts and outmaneuver their attackers with ease. They fought back to back, their movements perfectly coordinated, as if they shared a single mind. As the battle raged, Dr. Lyra noticed something extraordinary. The plants decorating the plaza were changing, growing at an accelerated rate. Their leaves and flowers took on a bioluminescent glow, similar to Johnny and Karina's markings. More strange effects became apparent. Sakari and humans near the fighting pair reported feeling an unexpected sense of unity, their awareness expanding beyond themselves. Lord Vex, his plan unraveling before his eyes, pushed through the melee towards Johnny and Queen Karina. In his hand, he clutched an object that pulsed with an eerie light, an ancient crystal, its surface etched with complex Sakari symbols. "Behold the wisdom of our ancestors," Vex bellowed, raising the artifact high. "They will show us the true path." The crystal flared with blinding intensity. A field of energy expanded from it, enveloping Johnny, Queen Karina, and Lord Vex. In an instant, the chaos of the battle fell away. Johnny found himself immersed in a vivid vision, sharing the experience with Karina and Vex. They witnessed scenes from a forgotten past, humans and Sakari, meeting millennia ago, their civilizations intertwining in ways long lost to history. The vision revealed an ancient exchange of knowledge and genetics. It became clear that humans carried dormant Sakari genes, explaining their surprising compatibility. As the vision faded, the crystal shattered with a thunderous crack. A wave of energy knocked Lord Vex unconscious and scattered his remaining followers. The plaza fell silent. Every eye was fixed on Johnny and Queen Karina, their bodies still glowing with shared energy. The demonstration had become far more than anyone had anticipated. It was now a powerful affirmation of the deep connection between their species. As the dust settled, Dr. Lyra approached, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Your Majesty, Johnny, we have an urgent situation. The compound, it's replicating itself. It's affecting the environment, even some of the people here." Johnny looked around, noticing the changes. Plants continued to grow and change, taking on bioluminescent properties. Some of the Sakari and humans nearby seemed different, more aware, their eyes shimmering with a familiar glow. Queen Karina's voice was steady as she addressed the doctor. "What are the implications, Dr. Lyra?" "Unknown, Your Majesty. So far, the effects appear benign, even beneficial. But the long-term consequences, we simply can't predict them." As security forces began to secure the area and tend to the injured, Johnny and Queen Karina exchanged a look of shared concern. Their bodies tingled with the ongoing changes wrought by the compound, a stark reminder that their journey was far from finished. The fate of both their species now hung in a precarious balance. The potential for a new era of unprecedented cooperation was within reach, but so too were the risks of unforeseen complications that could threaten everything they had worked for. As the first rays of Sakari's twin suns broke through the clouds, Johnny and Queen Karina stood at the center of the plaza, united in the face of an uncertain future. The true test of their alliance was just beginning. As the first rays of Sakari's twin suns broke through the clouds, Johnny and Queen Karina stood at the center of the plaza, united in the face of an uncertain future. The true test of their alliance was just beginning. "We need to get you both to a secure location immediately," Captain Zorn said, his voice low and urgent. "The medical team is standing by." Johnny nodded, acutely aware of the tingling sensation spreading through his body. He glanced at Queen Karina, noticing a faint shimmering beneath her skin that hadn't been there before. As they were escorted to the palace's secure medical facility, Johnny's enhanced senses picked up on the hushed whispers and concerned glances of the staff. The air felt charged with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Dr. Alara met them at the entrance, her eyes wide with a combination of scientific curiosity and worry. "Your Majesty, Johnny, please follow me. We need to run a full battery of tests to understand what's happening to you both." The medical bay was a flurry of activity. Xenobiologists rushed back and forth, carrying samples and analyzing data on holographic displays. Johnny and Queen Karina were quickly ushered to separate examination tables. As Dr. Alara began her scans, Johnny felt a strange sensation wash over him. He looked down at his arms, his eyes widening as he saw a faint blue tinge spreading across his skin. Small, bioluminescent patterns began to form, swirling and pulsing with an otherworldly light. "Fascinating," Dr. Alara murmured, her eyes fixed on the readings. "Your cellular structure is undergoing rapid changes. The compound seems to be rewriting your DNA at an unprecedented rate." Across the room, Queen Karina let out a gasp. Johnny turned to see patches of human-like skin appearing on her blue complexion. Her large, alien eyes were slowly shifting, taking on a more human-like appearance. "What's happening to us?" Johnny asked, his voice a mix of awe and concern. Dr. Alara shook her head, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It appears the compound is causing a genetic merger between human and Sakari DNA. You're both developing traits of each other's species." As the medical team continued their examinations, Johnny became aware of a growing connection with Queen Karina. He could sense her emotions, her thoughts becoming clearer in his mind with each passing moment. "I can feel you," Karina said, her eyes meeting Johnny's from across the room. "It's like we're becoming one." Their shared revelation was interrupted by the arrival of Captain Zorn, his expression grave. "Your Majesty, we have a situation. The High Council has convened an emergency session to discuss these developments. They're demanding explanations." Queen Karina nodded, her regal bearing returning despite the visible changes to her appearance. "We must address their concerns. Johnny, are you able to join me?" As Johnny stood, he was surprised by the surge of strength he felt. His movements were more fluid, more graceful than ever before. "I'm ready," he said, marveling at the newfound power coursing through his body. Dr. Alara stepped forward, her voice filled with concern. "Before you go, there's something else you need to know. The compound, it's spreading beyond just the two of you. We've detected changes in the palace grounds, in the plants and animals. We're setting up a containment zone, but we don't know how far this will go." Queen Karina's expression hardened with willpower. "We'll deal with that after we address the council. For now, continue your research and take all necessary precautions." As they made their way to the council chambers, Johnny and Karina walked side by side, their movements perfectly in sync. The connection between them grew stronger with each step, thoughts and emotions flowing freely between their minds. The doors to the council chamber opened, revealing a room filled with tense faces and heated arguments. As Johnny and Queen Karina entered, a hush fell over the assembly. All eyes turned to take in their altered appearances. One of the council members, an elderly Sakari with deep blue skin, stood up abruptly. "What is the meaning of this, Your Majesty? What have you done to yourself, to our species?" Queen Karina raised her head high, her voice steady as she addressed the council. "Esteemed members of the High Council, what you see before you is not a threat, but an opportunity, a new chapter in the history of both our peoples." As she spoke, Johnny felt a surge of pride and dedication through their shared connection. He stepped forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that together they had the power to shape the future of two worlds. Worlds. Our union represents a new dawn for both humans and Sakari. The council chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices, some filled with hope, others with fear and anger. Johnny stepped forward, his newly acquired bioluminescent patterns pulsing in sync with Queen Karina's. "We understand your concerns," Johnny said, his voice calm but firm. "But we stand before you as living proof of what our species can achieve together. We propose a joint human Sakari expedition to explore the implications of this genetic merger and its potential benefits for both our peoples." The proposal sparked intense debate among the council members. As the discussion raged on, Johnny and Queen Karina exchanged glances, their shared mental link allowing them to communicate silently. In the days that followed, preparations for the expedition began in earnest. The Harmony, a state-of-the-art research vessel, took shape in the Sakari shipyards. Its sleek hull incorporated elements of the mutated flora from the palace gardens, creating a self-sustaining ecosystem capable of supporting both human and Sakari crew members during long-term space travel. Johnny and Queen Karina threw themselves into intensive training, their evolving physiologies presenting unique challenges. In the specialized training facility, Johnny grunted as he pushed through another set of gravity-enhanced exercises. "Your muscle density has increased by another 15%, Dr. Lyra noted, studying the holographic readouts floating before her. "The rate of adaptation is remarkable." Across the room, Queen Karina moved through a series of agility tests, her movements fluid and precise. "I can sense the ship's systems," she said, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "It's as if they're an extension of my own body." Dr. Chen, a human xenobiologist working alongside Dr. Lyra, nodded excitedly. "The integration of the mutated flora into the ship's design seems to have created a symbiotic relationship with your enhanced physiology. This could revolutionize space travel as we know it." As the launch date approached, tensions on Sakari reached a boiling point. Captain Zorn burst into the training facility, his face grim. "Your Majesty, Johnny, we have a situation. A splinter group of Lord Vex's followers is planning to sabotage the Harmony." Johnny's enhanced senses immediately went on high alert. "What do we know?" "They're led by a Sakari named Krell," Zorn reported. "Our intelligence suggests they believe the expedition will lead to the extinction of pure Sakari bloodlines. They're planning to infiltrate the shipyard tonight." Queen Karina's eyes narrowed. "We can't let them jeopardize everything we've worked for. Johnny, mobilize your hybrid security force. We'll protect the Harmony at all costs." As night fell, Johnny led his team to the shipyard. The hybrid force moved with preternatural coordination, their enhanced abilities allowing them to communicate and react with lightning speed. At the perimeter, Johnny raised his hand, signaling the team to halt. His heightened senses picked up the faint sounds of movement in the shadows. "They're here," he whispered, his body tensing for action. Suddenly, the night erupted into chaos. Krell's forces emerged from hiding, energy weapons blazing. Johnny's team sprang into action, their superior adaptability giving them the edge against the well-armed but traditional fighters. As the battle raged, Johnny found himself separated from his team. He ducked behind a pile of construction materials, narrowly avoiding a blast of energy. Closing his eyes, he focused on his connection with Queen Karina, who was coordinating the defense from the command center. Through their shared link, he could sense her location and status. More than that, he could see through her eyes, taking in the holographic display of the battlefield. With this unprecedented level of awareness, Johnny began to direct his forces with uncanny precision. "Team Alpha, flank left," he commanded through his neural interface. "Bravo, watch your six. Hostiles approaching from the south quadrant." The tide of the battle began to turn. Krell's forces, outmatched by the hybrid team's coordination and adaptability, began to falter. As Johnny emerged from cover to press the advantage, he came face to face with Krell himself. The Sakari extremists' eyes burned with fanatical intensity. "You're an abomination," Krell snarled, raising his weapon. "You'll destroy everything that makes us Sakari." Johnny dodged the blast, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to close the distance between them in the blink of an eye. "You're wrong," he said, disarming Krell with a swift move. "We're not destroying anything. We're evolving, growing stronger together." As Krell's remaining forces were rounded up, Johnny felt a surge of triumph flow through his link with Queen Karina. They had protected the Harmony and kept their dream of a joint expedition alive. But as he looked up at the gleaming hull of the ship, he knew that greater challenges lay ahead. In the command center, Queen Karina's attention was drawn to a series of urgent messages flashing across the screens. Her eyes widened as she took in the information. "Johnny," she communicated through their link, "we have a new complication. The United Earth government is demanding that a human military contingent be included in the expedition." Johnny frowned, sensing the potential for conflict. "Who are they sending?" "Colonel Sarah Hawkins," Karina replied, her mental tone tinged with concern. "She's a decorated officer with a background in xenobiology, but her arrival could upset the delicate balance we've achieved. As the Harmony stood ready for its impending launch, Johnny and Queen Karina found themselves facing a new set of challenges. The unity they had fought so hard to achieve was about to be tested in ways they couldn't have imagined. With the eyes of two worlds upon them, they prepared to take their next steps into an uncertain future, one that would shape the destiny of both their species. The unity they had fought so hard to achieve was about to be tested in ways they couldn't have imagined. With the eyes of two worlds upon them, they prepared to take their next steps into an uncertain future, one that would shape the destiny of both their peoples. As the launch date approached, Johnny and Queen Karina found themselves facing an unexpected decision. The research team, led by Dr. Lyra and Dr. Chen, proposed a daring plan to perform the ancient Sakari bonding ritual aboard the Harmony just before its departure. The ritual could stabilize the genetic changes you're both experiencing, Dr. Lyra explained, her holographic display showing complex molecular structures. More importantly, it might be the key to unlocking the full potential of the hybrid physiology. Queen Karina's eyes widened, her newly human-like features reflecting a mix of excitement and apprehension. The bonding ritual hasn't been performed in centuries. Are you certain it's safe? Dr. Chen stepped forward, his expression grave. We can't be certain of anything at this point, Your Majesty, but our simulations suggest that without the ritual, the genetic changes could become unstable during long-term space travel. Johnny felt a surge of purpose through his link with Karina. We've come this far, he said, taking her hand. If this is what it takes to ensure the success of our mission, I'm willing to take the risk. As preparations for the ritual began, the atmosphere in the shipyard grew tense. The nexus structures surrounding the palace and launch site pulsed with increasing energy, their crystalline formations growing larger and more complex by the hour. Dr. Lyra's voice crackled over the comm system, urgency evident in her tone. We're detecting a significant increase in energy output from the nexus. The patterns, they're mimicking DNA structures. We need to accelerate our timeline. The day of the launch arrived, bringing with it a palpable sense of anticipation and fear. Representatives from both human and Sakari governments gathered to witness the historic event, their faces a mix of awe and suspicion. Colonel Sarah Hawkins, the newly arrived human military liaison, strode through the Harmony's corridors, her eyes sharp and watchful. I want every inch of this ship checked and double-checked, she barked to her team. We can't afford any surprises once we're in deep space. As her team conducted their sweep, Hawkins discovered a hidden device tucked away in a maintenance shaft. Her eyes narrowed as she examined the unfamiliar technology. This isn't standard equipment, she muttered, tapping her comlink. Security team to my location. We may have a situation. The discovery of the sabotage device sent shockwaves through the launch preparations. Security teams swarmed the Harmony, conducting a frantic last-minute search for any other hidden threats. Amid the chaos, Johnny and Queen Karina were led to a specially prepared chamber deep within the ship. Ancient Sakari artifacts lined the walls, their surfaces glowing faintly in the dim light. Advanced monitoring equipment hummed softly, ready to record every aspect of the bonding ritual. As they donned the ceremonial garments, a striking blend of human and Sakari designs, Johnny felt a tremor of nervous energy through his link with Karina. Are you ready for this? He asked softly. Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the shipyard. Captain Zorn's voice cut through the cacophony. Intruder alert! Krell and his followers have breached the perimeter. Johnny's hybrid security force sprang into action, their enhanced abilities on full display as they engaged the extremists. Energy weapons flashed, illuminating the night sky as the two forces clashed. Inside the Harmony, Johnny and Queen Karina exchanged a determined look. We have to proceed, Karina said, her voice steady. The future of both our peoples depends on it. As they began the ancient rites, the nexus structures surrounding the shipyard pulsed with increasing intensity. A visible energy field began to form around the Harmony, its surface shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. The ritual reached its climax, just as Krell and a handful of his followers fought their way into the ship. Johnny could sense their approach through his enhanced awareness. but he forced himself to focus on the final steps of the ceremony. As Johnny and Queen Karina completed the bonding, their bodies began to glow with an otherworldly light. The energy from the Nexus structures surged, engulfing the entire shipyard in a blinding flash. When the light faded, silence fell over the launch site. The gathered officials and spectators stared in disbelief at the empty space where the Harmony had stood just moments before. In its place, a swirling vortex of energy pulsed, its patterns matching those seen on Johnny and Karina's skin. Panic spread through the crowd, but it was quickly silenced by a familiar voice crackling through the communication systems. "This is Dr. Alara aboard the Harmony," she announced, her tone a mix of excitement and disbelief. "We're intact and operational, but we're no longer in the solar system. Our sensors indicate we've been transported light years from our original position." Aboard the Harmony, Johnny and Queen Karina awoke to find themselves transformed. Their bodies had fully merged human and Sakari traits, creating a new hybrid form that seemed to pulse with nearly unleashed energy. As they rose, they became aware of a vastly expanded mental link. Not only could they sense each other's thoughts and emotions, but they could feel the presence of every crew member aboard the ship. What happened to us?" Johnny asked, his voice resonating with new harmonics. Queen Karina's eyes, now a striking blend of human and Sakari features, widened in wonder. "I think we've unlocked something ancient and powerful," she said, "something that could change everything." As the ship's systems came back online, the crew gathered on the bridge, their faces a mix of confusion and awe. The view screen showed an unfamiliar starfield, vast and unexplored. Suddenly, a faint signal caught their attention. Dr. Chen leaned forward, his fingers dancing across the console. "It's coming from a nearby planet," he reported. "The signal? It has elements of both ancient Sakari and human transmissions." Johnny and Queen Karina exchanged a look of excitement and trepidation. They had embarked on a mission to explore the connection between their species, but they never imagined it would lead them here, to the threshold of a discovery that could rewrite the history of both their civilizations. As the Harmony's engines hummed to life, preparing to navigate this unknown region of space, Johnny felt a surge of anticipation through the collective consciousness of the crew. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as a unified force unlike anything the universe had seen before. The ship moved forward, gliding towards the mysterious planet and the secrets it held. The true nature of the human-Sakari connection, the purpose behind their long-forgotten bond, and the potential threats lurking in this uncharted territory all lay waiting to be discovered. For Johnny, Queen Karina, and their crew, the real journey was just beginning. As the Harmony glided towards the mysterious planet, the bridge crew watched in awe as the alien world grew larger on the display. The planet's surface was a tapestry of vibrant colors, swirling patterns of blue, green, and purple that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Johnny and Queen Karina stood at the forefront, their newly transformed bodies radiating a soft, ethereal glow. The intricate bioluminescent patterns on their skin shifted and danced, reflecting their mounting excitement and apprehension. "Sensors are picking up massive energy readings from the surface," Dr. Chen reported, his fingers flying over the console. "The signal we detected earlier is emanating from a specific location near the equator." Queen Karina nodded, her eyes gleaming with a mix of human and Sakari traits. "Take us into orbit, Captain Zorn. Prepare a landing party." As the crew bustled with activity, Johnny became acutely aware of a change in his perception. He could sense the thoughts and emotions of everyone aboard the ship, their collective consciousness merging into a symphony of excitement, fear, and tenacity. "Karina," he whispered, turning to his partner, "can you feel it? The crew? They're changing." She nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Our transformation seems to be affecting them as well. It's as if our presence is catalyzing some dormant potential within them." Colonel Sarah Hawkins approached, her face a mask of concern. "Your Majesty, Johnny, we need to talk about these changes. Some of the human crew members are developing bioluminescent markings, and the Sakari are exhibiting increased physical capabilities." Before they could respond, Dr. Alara's voice crackled over the comm system. "Bridge, this is Dr. Alara. You need to see this immediately." Moments later, they gathered around a holographic display in the science lab. Dr. Alara's eyes were wide with excitement as she explained, "The nexus energy that brought us here isn't dissipating. It's growing stronger, and it seems to be centered on the planet below." Johnny leaned in, studying the swirling patterns of energy. "It's almost as if the planet is calling to us." Queen Karina placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a jolt of shared understanding through their link. "Then we must answer. Prepare the landing party." As they boarded the shuttle, Johnny couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in their companions. Lieutenant Kira, a human security officer, now sported faint, swirling patterns on her forearms. Tak, a Sakari scientist, moved with a newfound grace and agility. The descent to the planet's surface was smooth, the shuttle's advanced technology easily compensating for the alien atmosphere. As they touched down near the massive structure that was the source of the signal, Johnny felt a surge of recognition that he couldn't explain. "It's like I've been here before," he murmured, stepping onto the planet's surface. Queen Karina nodded, her eyes fixed on the towering edifice before them. "I feel it too. This place, it's part of us somehow." The structure was a marvel of engineering, its design a seamless blend of human and Sakari architectural elements. As they approached, ancient mechanisms whirred to life, responding to their presence. "Incredible," Dr. Chen breathed, scanning the structure with his handheld device. "The technology here is far beyond anything we've ever encountered." As they entered the vast chamber within, holographic displays flickered to life around them. Star maps danced in the air, showing unfamiliar constellations, and what appeared to be travel routes spanning the galaxy. Johnny found himself drawn to a particular console. As he reached out to touch it, his bioluminescent patterns flared brightly. The console responded, interface controls materializing beneath his fingers. "I can read this," he said, surprised. "It's a language I've never seen before, but somehow I understand it." Queen Karina joined him, her own patterns synchronizing with the ancient technology. It's a database of some kind. Biological engineering, terraforming techniques, faster than light travel. The knowledge here is vast. As they delved deeper into the structure, they encountered a series of automated defenses. Energy fields sprang to life, and sentinel drones emerged from hidden alcoves. Yet as Johnny and Karina approached, the defenses powered down, recognizing them as authorized users. "It's as if this place was waiting for us," Lieutenant Kira observed, her newly acquired bioluminescent markings pulsing in sync with the surrounding technology. Deeper within the complex, they discovered a chamber that took their breath away. Rows upon rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a being that appeared to be a perfect blend of human and Sakari traits. "They're like us," Johnny whispered, placing a hand on one of the pods. "But more advanced somehow." As they studied the pods, one began to activate. The transparent cover slid open with a hiss, revealing a female figure stirring from her long slumber. Her eyes opened, revealing irises that swirled with the combined colors of human and Sakari eyes. "Welcome, children of two worlds," she spoke, her voice resonating in their minds as well as their ears. "I am Lyra, and I have much to tell you." As Lyra began to share fragments of their shared history, Johnny and Queen Karina felt the weight of destiny settling upon them. They stood at the threshold of a new era, one that would reshape the future of both their species and perhaps the entire galaxy. The ancient machinery of the planet continued to awaken around them, and in orbit, the Harmony's crew watched in awe as energy signatures similar to their own ship began to emerge from hidden locations across the globe. The stage was set for revelations that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their origins and their purpose in the cosmos. The universe had only begun to unfold. As Johnny and Queen Karina absorbed Lyra's words, the ancient machinery surrounding them hummed with renewed energy. The hybrid's eyes, swirling with a mesmerizing blend of human and Sakari hues, locked onto theirs. "Come," Lyra said, her voice resonating within their minds. "There is much more to show you." She led them deeper into the facility, their footsteps echoing through corridors that hadn't seen life in millennia. As they walked, Johnny noticed the walls responding to their presence. bioluminescent patterns flickering to life in sync with their own. It's as if the entire structure is alive, Dr. Chen murmured, his scientific curiosity piqued. They entered a vast chamber that took their breath away. At its center stood a massive holographic projection of the galaxy, stars and planets swirling in a cosmic dance. Lyra approached a control panel, her fingers dancing across its surface. "This is the heart of our ancestors' legacy," she explained. "A planet-wide control system designed to monitor and guide the evolution of both human and Sakari species." As Johnny and Queen Karina stepped closer to the main console, their bioluminescent patterns pulsed in harmony with the ancient technology. The system recognized their hybrid DNA, granting them full access to its vast database. Information flooded their minds, centuries of knowledge unfolding before them. Johnny gasped as he realized the true scope of their heritage. "Our ancestors. They were part of an advanced civilization," he said, his voice filled with awe. Queen Karina nodded, her eyes wide with understanding. "They foresaw a great threat to the galaxy," she added. "That's why they separated our species, allowing us to evolve separately." Lyra confirmed their insights. Yes, the separation was necessary to develop specific traits that, when recombined, would create beings capable of facing this cosmic danger. As they processed this revelation, Dr. Alara's voice crackled through their communicators. "Landing party. This is the Harmony. We've got a situation up here." Johnny activated his comlink. "Go ahead, Doctor." "The nexus energy surrounding the ship has intensified," Dr. Alara reported. "It's created a stable wormhole connecting directly to the Sol system." Queen Karina exchanged a concerned look with Johnny. "This could be our chance to address the conflicts back home," she said, "but it also risks exposing our location." Before they could discuss further, Colonel Sarah Hawkins cut in. "There's more," she said, her voice tense. "The crew members left on the ship are experiencing accelerated genetic changes. Some have developed telepathic abilities. Others show enhanced physical traits." Johnny could hear the strain in Sarah's voice. "Colonel, are you all right?" There was a pause before she responded. "I'm changing, too. There are faint patterns appearing on my skin. It's spreading to everyone on board." As the implications of this news sank in, Lyra guided them to another section of the control room. A new holographic display materialized, showing a terrifying alien species unlike anything they had ever encountered. "These are the Void Harbingers," Lyra explained, her voice grave. "They are the threat our ancestors foresaw. These beings harvest the life force of entire planets, and they have set their sights on the Milky Way." Dr. Chen, who had been monitoring long-range sensors, suddenly called out, "I'm detecting unknown ships at the edges of both human and Sakari space. They match the energy signatures of these Void Harbingers." The revelation sent a chill through the group. Johnny's mind raced as he connected the dots. The conflicts back home, could they be influenced by these cosmic predators? Lyra nodded solemnly. "It is likely. The Void Harbingers often sow discord among their targets, weakening them before the final assault." Queen Karina's expression hardened with grit. "We need to unite our people against this threat. But how?" In response, Lyra activated another holographic display, this one showing a vast network of facilities similar to the one they stood in, spread across the galaxy. Each of these installations was designed to create and nurture hybrid beings like yourselves, Lyra explained. Beings capable of unlocking the full potential of both human and Sakari DNA. Together, you have the power to activate an ancient defensive grid that can protect the galaxy from the Void Harbingers. As Lyra spoke, Johnny and Queen Karina felt their bond intensify. Their bioluminescent patterns glowed brighter, and they found themselves able to interface directly with the facility's systems. Vast amounts of information about their shared heritage and advanced technologies flooded their minds. Dr. Chen, analyzing the data being transmitted from the planet, offered his theory. The hybrid transformation occurring among the crew isn't just a biological change, he said, excitement evident in his voice. It's an awakening of latent abilities encoded in both human and Sakari DNA. Your union, he gestured to Johnny and Queen Karina, may have been the catalyst to activate these long-dormant genetic sequences. The weight of their discovery pressed upon them. Johnny turned to Queen Karina, their eyes meeting in silent communication. They knew what they had to do. Together, they approached the main console and initiated the facility's activation sequence. The chamber hummed with power as similar installations across the planet began to awaken. As the planet-wide network came online, a massive energy surge pulsed through the facility. The Harmony's sensors detected multiple wormholes opening near other known human and Sakari colonies, re-establishing long-lost connections between scattered pockets of their civilization. Suddenly, Johnny and Queen Karina were hit by a powerful psychic vision. They saw glimpses of other hybrid beings awakening on distant worlds, each responding to the call of their shared ancestry. The vision revealed their place in a grand plan set in motion eons ago, designed to unite their species and prepare them for the coming threat. As the activation sequence neared completion, the facility thrummed with ancient power. Johnny and Queen Karina stood at the center of it all, their hybrid forms glowing with newfound energy. They faced their team, each member showing signs of their own transformation, united in purpose and ready to face the challenges ahead. The fate of both human and Sakari civilizations, and indeed the entire galaxy, now rested on their shoulders. With the wormhole network stabilized and the facility fully operational, they prepared to return to the Harmony. Their mission was clear: unite their fractured societies and prepare for the impending arrival of the Void Harbingers. As they made their way back to the shuttle, Johnny couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The journey that had brought them to this alien world had transformed them in ways they were only beginning to understand. And now, with the knowledge of their true heritage and the looming cosmic threat, they stood on the precipice of an even greater adventure. As they made their final preparations to leave the ancient facility, Johnny felt a surge of anticipation coursing through his body. "Ready?" Queen Karina asked, her luminescent patterns pulsing in sync with his own. Johnny nodded, his eyebrows furrowed. "Let's go." The team made their way back to the shuttle, each step echoing with the weight of their newfound knowledge. As they boarded and began their ascent, Johnny couldn't help but marvel at how different they all looked now. Dr. Chen's skin had taken on a faint blue tinge, while Lieutenant Kira's eyes now shimmered with an otherworldly light. The shuttle docked with the Harmony, and as the airlocks cycled open, Johnny was struck by the transformation that had overtaken the ship. The corridors glowed with bioluminescent patterns, mirroring those on the crew's skin. Officers moved with a newfound grace, their movements fluid and precise. Colonel Sarah Hawkins met them at the airlock, her normally stoic features now animated by swirling patterns of light beneath her skin. "Welcome back," she said, her voice carrying a hint of strain. "The changes have accelerated in your absence." Dr. Alar approached, her eyes wide with excitement. "The hybrid process isn't just physical," she explained, gesturing for them to follow her to the medical bay. "We're seeing enhanced cognitive abilities, improved reflexes, and even nascent psychic potential in some crew members." As they entered the medical bay, Johnny saw crew members undergoing various stages of transformation. Some lay on beds, their bodies pulsing with energy, while others practiced newly acquired abilities under the watchful eye of medical staff. Dr. Chen immediately joined his colleague, poring over data on a holographic display. "Fascinating," he muttered. "It's as if our DNA is being rewritten to its original hybrid state." Queen Karina turned to Johnny, her eyes reflecting the gravity of their situation. "We need to return to the Sol system," she said. "Our people need to know what's coming." Johnny nodded in agreement. "Bridge to navigation," he called out. "Set a course for the wormhole. We're going home." As the Harmony maneuvered toward the swirling vortex of energy, long-range sensors blared a warning. Dr. Chen's face paled as he studied the readings. "Multiple contacts approaching," he reported. "Energy signatures match the Void Harbingers." The ancient facility's defenses sprang to life, a shimmering energy shield enveloping the planet. Johnny felt a moment of relief, knowing the legacy of their ancestors would remain protected. "All hands, brace for wormhole transit," Colonel Hawkins announced over the ship-wide comm. The Harmony plunged into the swirling tunnel of light and energy. Johnny gripped the arms of his chair, feeling the ship shudder around him. Beside him, Queen Karina's eyes were closed in concentration, her bioluminescent patterns flaring brightly. Suddenly, Johnny's mind exploded with visions. He saw other hybrid beings across the galaxy, awakening in similar facilities. Their minds touched his, forming a vast, interconnected network spanning the stars. In that moment, he understood the true scope of their shared heritage and the power they now wielded. The ship burst from the wormhole into familiar space, the blue-green orb of Earth hanging before them. Almost immediately, alarms blared as multiple ships, both human and Sakari, locked weapons on the Harmony. "We're being hailed," Lieutenant Kira reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Johnny exchanged a glance with Queen Karina. "Open a channel," he ordered, "to all ships." Taking a deep breath, Johnny began to speak, his words carried not just by the communication systems, but by the newfound psychic link he shared with Queen Karina. Together, they projected images of their journey, the ancient facility, and the looming threat of the Void Harbingers. "People of Earth and Sakari," Johnny said, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "We come bearing knowledge of our shared past and a warning of our common future. A threat approaches that will require all of us, human and Sakari alike, to stand united." As their message spread, the weapon locks disengaged. Requests for communication flooded in from both sides, ranging from military leaders demanding explanations to political figures seeking assurances. "We need a neutral ground," Queen Karina said, her mind already formulating a plan. "Somewhere we can bring together leaders from both our peoples." Colonel Hawkins nodded, her fingers dancing across a tactical display. "There's a space station in neutral territory. We can secure it and make it suitable for a summit." As the Harmony made its way to the chosen station, Johnny and Queen Karina worked tirelessly to prepare. They knew that the fate of both their species hung in the balance. The hybrid crew of the Harmony, their abilities growing stronger by the hour, threw themselves into the task of organizing the summit. Lyra, the ancient hybrid they had awakened, proved invaluable in explaining the intricacies of their shared heritage. Her knowledge, combined with the scientific expertise of Dr. Ilara and Dr. Chen, formed the backbone of their presentation. As delegates from Earth and Sakari began to arrive at the station, tension hung thick in the air. Johnny could sense the mix of fear, curiosity, and hope emanating from the gathered leaders. He knew that the next few hours would determine the course of their civilizations. Just as the summit was about to begin, an urgent transmission cut through the carefully orchestrated proceedings. A frantic voice, tinged with panic, filled the command center. "This is Outpost Sigma. We're under attack. Void Harbinger scout ship has landed on the surface. We need immediate assistance." Johnny's eyes met Queen Karina's, a silent understanding passing between them. This was the moment that would define their new alliance. Without hesitation, they began to assemble a strike team, drawing from the most advanced hybrids among the Harmony's crew. As they prepared for battle, Johnny couldn't help but feel the weight of two civilizations resting on their shoulders. The upcoming conflict would be more than just a skirmish. It would be a test of everything they had learned and become. With Lyra at their side and their newfound abilities humming through their veins, they stood ready to face the first wave of a war that would determine the future of the stars. Galaxy. The Harmony plunged into the wormhole, its advanced systems groaning under the immense gravitational forces. Johnny and Queen Karina stood at the helm, their bodies pulsing with bioluminescent patterns as they guided the ship through the turbulent passage. The crew braced themselves, the ship shuddering around them as it hurtled through space-time. As they emerged near the besieged colony, chaos erupted before their eyes. The Void Harbinger scout ship, a massive obsidian structure jam packed with otherworldly weaponry, loomed ominously over the colony's main settlement. Dark energy beams lanced down from the ship, shattering buildings and vaporizing fleeing colonists. The colony's meager defenses, a hodgepodge of outdated human and Sakari technology, crumbled under the onslaught. Johnny's mind raced as he assessed the situation. "We need to split up," he said, turning to Queen Karina. "I'll lead a strike team for a direct assault on the Harbinger ship. You take a team to evacuate survivors and gather intel." Queen Karina nodded, her eyes gleaming with purpose. "Agreed. Be careful, Johnny." As the teams deployed, Johnny led his group to the specialized assault pods. As they boarded, he felt an unprecedented connection to the ancient technology. The pod responded to his thoughts, its controls becoming an extension of his will. "Let's move out," Johnny ordered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The assault pods launched from the Harmony, weaving through the Void Harbinger's energy beams with inhuman precision. Johnny's hybrid physiology granted him reflexes beyond anything he'd experienced before, allowing him to guide his team safely through the barrage. As they approached the alien ship, Johnny saw the hull up close, a shifting, almost organic surface that seemed to ripple with dark energy. "Prepare for breach," he commanded, his body tensing for impact. The hybrid strike force crashed through the hull, their enhanced strength allowing them to tear through the alien material. As they entered the dark interior of the ship, Johnny's eyes adjusted quickly to the dim, pulsating light. Suddenly, a group of Void Harbingers rounded a corner. Johnny's breath caught in his throat as he saw the aliens up close for the first time. They were tall, shadowy figures with multiple limbs and eyes that glowed with an eerie, pulsating light. "Engage!" Johnny shouted, his bioluminescent patterns flaring brightly as he unleashed his newfound abilities. The hybrid strike force clashed with the Void Harbingers in close-quarters combat. Johnny ducked under a sweeping limb, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to counter with a swift strike to the alien's midsection. Around him, his team fought with a synchronicity that would have been impossible for either humans or Sakari alone. As the battle raged inside the Harbinger ship, Queen Karina's team touched down in the colony's central district. The scene was one of devastation. Buildings reduced to rubble, fires raging unchecked, and the air thick with smoke and the cries of the wounded. "Fan out," Karina ordered. "Use your enhanced senses to locate survivors." The hybrid team moved through the ruins, their heightened perception allowing them to detect life signs that conventional scanners would have missed. They found colonists huddled in underground shelters, terrified but alive. As Karina helped a group of survivors to an evacuation point, she noticed something strange. Dark, shadow-like tendrils were seeping from the ground where the Void Harbinger's energy beams had struck. "Dr. Lyra," she called over the comm, "are you seeing this?" Back on the Harmony, Dr. Lyra's eyes widened as she analyzed the data coming in from the surface. "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature from those tendrils," she reported. "It appears the Void Harbingers aren't just destroying the colony, they're trying to transform it." The realization sent a chill down Karina's spine. This wasn't just an invasion, it was a full-scale conversion of the planet. Meanwhile, Johnny's team fought their way deeper into the Void Harbinger ship. The resistance grew fiercer as they approached the vessel's core. They encountered Void Harbinger elites wielding weapons that seemed to bend reality itself, firing projectiles that phased in and out of existence. Johnny ducked behind a pulsating column as reality-warping fire zipped past him. "We need to push through," he shouted to his team. "The core has to be close." As they battled on, Lyra, the ancient hybrid, managed to interface with the ship's systems. Her eyes went wide as information flooded her mind. "Johnny," she called out, her voice tight with urgency, "this scout ship is part of a much larger invasion force. They're heading for the core worlds of both human and Sakari space." The news galvanized Johnny and his team. They redoubled their efforts, fighting with renewed vigor. Their hybrid abilities allowed them to adapt quickly to the Void Harbinger's tactics, working in perfect synchronization to overcome obstacles that would have been insurmountable for either humans or Sakari alone. Back on the surface, Queen Karina's team had successfully evacuated a significant portion of the colony. Now they turned their attention to the spreading shadow tendrils. As they attempted to contain and study the phenomenon, Karina felt a strange resonance within her hybrid physiology. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. A pulse of energy shot through the planet, momentarily disrupting the Void Harbinger ship's systems. Karina realized they had inadvertently activated a dormant defense system, a remnant of the ancient civilization that had created the hybrids. The moment of disruption was all Johnny's team needed. They burst into the ship's core chamber, where a massive, pulsating crystal hung suspended in a field of dark energy. Johnny approached it, drawn by an instinct he couldn't explain. As his hand touched the crystal's surface, his mind exploded with visions. He saw the vast Void Harbinger fleet, poised to sweep across the galaxy. He felt their hunger, their drive to consume and convert all in their path. But in that moment of contact, Johnny's hybrid energy signature caused a ripple of confusion through the Void Harbinger collective consciousness. "Now!" Johnny shouted, snapping back to reality. "Overload the core!" His team sprang into action, using their hybrid abilities to channel energy into the crystal. The ship's systems began to destabilize, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "Fall back to the assault pods," Johnny ordered as the ship shuddered around them. They fought their way back through the corridors, the ship's internal structure already beginning to collapse. They launched from the failing vessel, moments before it erupted in a massive explosion, sending shockwaves across the planet's surface. As the Void Harbinger ship disintegrated, the shadow tendrils on the surface began to recede. Queen Karina watched in awe as the ancient defense system pulsed with energy, pushing back against the alien influence. Johnny's assault pods touched down near Karina's position. As he emerged, their eyes met, both of them still humming with energy from the intense combat. Around them, the rescued colonists emerged from their shelters, staring in wonder at their hybrid saviors. "We did it," Johnny said, his voice filled with a mix of relief and lingering tension. Karina nodded, her expression serious. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. We need to get this information back to Earth in the Sakari homeworld. The real war is yet to come." As the Harmony prepared for the return journey, Johnny and Karina stood on the bridge, their bodies glowing in unison. They had won this battle, but the true test of their newfound abilities and the strength of their bond still lay ahead. Ahead still lay before them. The Harmony burst through the wormhole, emerging in a flash of light near Earth's orbit. As the familiar blue sphere came into view, Johnny and Queen Karina exchanged a look of relief tinged with apprehension. They had won a battle, but the war loomed on the horizon. "Prepare for docking procedures," Colonel Hawkins announced, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "We're being directed to the United Earth Sakari space station." As the Harmony approached the massive structure floating in Earth's orbit, Johnny marveled at its size. The station was a testament to the newfound cooperation between humans and Sakari, a gleaming symbol of unity in the face of the Void Harbinger threat. The moment they stepped off the ship, Johnny and Queen Karina found themselves swept up in a whirlwind of activity. Military personnel, scientists, and diplomats swarmed around them, eager for information and reassurance. "This way," a stern-faced official guided them. "The emergency summit is about to begin." As they walked through the station's gleaming corridors, Johnny felt a strange tingling sensation. He glanced at Queen Karina and saw her bioluminescent patterns pulsing in sync with his own. Their eyes met, and suddenly he heard her voice in his mind. "Johnny, can you hear me?" He nodded, stunned by the clarity of the telepathic communication. "Loud and clear. What's happening to us?" Before Karina could respond, they were ushered into a vast chamber filled with dignitaries from both Earth and Sakari. The room fell silent as they entered, all eyes fixed on the hybrid pair. A tall, imposing man with graying hair stepped forward. "I'm Admiral Thorne," he said, his voice gruff. "We're all eager to hear your report on this alien threat." Johnny took a deep breath and began recounting their encounter with the Void Harbinger scout ship. As he spoke, holographic images appeared behind him, showcasing the alien's terrifying capabilities. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the audience. Queen Karina then took over, explaining the ancient hybrid program and demonstrating some of their enhanced abilities. She levitated a series of objects with her mind, while Johnny created a dazzling display of bioluminescent patterns that danced across his skin. The room erupted in a mix of awe and fear. Admiral Thorne's eyes narrowed. "And what guarantees do we have that these changes won't spiral out of control?" he asked, his voice imbued with skepticism. Before Johnny or Karina could respond, Dr. Lyra stepped forward. "If I may," she said, activating a holographic display of her own. "Our latest findings suggest that the hybrid transformation isn't random. It's unlocking dormant genetic potential present in both humans and Sakari." As the debate raged on, Johnny felt a sudden surge of energy. Without warning, his and Karina's bioluminescent patterns flared brightly, projecting a vivid holographic image of an ancient civilization. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on the unexpected display. Taking advantage of the moment, Johnny and Karina proposed their plan for a hybrid training facility. "We need a place where volunteers from both our species can safely undergo transformation and learn to harness their abilities," Karina explained. The proposal sparked heated discussions. Some leaders saw it as their best hope for survival, while others feared the creation of an uncontrollable superhuman race. As the arguments intensified, an urgent message cut through the debate. "Multiple Void Harbinger scout ships detected near our outer colonies," a communications officer announced, her voice tight with tension. The news galvanized the assembly. After intense negotiations, a compromise was reached. The hybrid training facility would be established under strict joint human-Sakri oversight, with Admiral Thorne appointed to the oversight committee. With the decision made, preparations began immediately. Johnny and Karina found themselves at the center of a flurry of activity, selecting a remote planet with a harsh but varied environment for the training facility. As the Harmony prepared for departure, Johnny and Karina stole a moment alone. They stood before a large viewport, Earth floating serenely below them. "Are you ready for this?" Johnny asked, his hand finding Karina's. She squeezed his hand, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing gently. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her mental voice a soothing presence in his mind. The Harmony departed, carrying the first group of volunteers and essential equipment. As they traveled through the vastness of space, the ship's sensors detected an unusual energy signature. "Unidentified vessel detected," the ship's AI announced. "Design matches neither human, Sakari, nor Void Harbinger specifications." Johnny led a small team to investigate the derelict spacecraft drifting in the void. As they boarded the vessel, they found themselves surrounded by alien technology far beyond their understanding. "Look at this," Lyra called out, her fingers tracing strange symbols on a console. "This ship, it's ancient, and these readings suggest they encountered the Void Harbingers long ago." As they delved deeper into the mysterious craft's secrets, Johnny couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of uncovering something monumental. The fate of not just their own species, but potentially multiple civilizations across the galaxy, might hinge on what they discovered here. With the derelict ship in tow, the Harmony continued its journey to the training planet. As they approached their destination, Johnny and Karina stood on the bridge, their bodies glowing in unison. They exchanged a look, both acutely aware that they were crossing a threshold into a new era, one filled with both promise and peril. The harsh, alien landscape of the training planet loomed before them, a canvas upon which the future of two species would be written. As the Harmony began its descent, Johnny felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that the real test of their newfound abilities and the strength of the human-Sakari alliance was only just beginning. The Harmony descended through the planet's turbulent atmosphere, buffeted by fierce winds and pelted by icy particles. As the ship touched down on the rugged terrain, Johnny and Queen Karina stood side by side, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing in perfect synchronization. "Welcome to our new home," Johnny said, his voice tinged with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Karina nodded, her eyes scanning the harsh landscape. "It's perfect. The diverse environments will push our abilities to their limits." They disembarked, leading the first group of volunteers onto the planet's surface. The air was thin and cold, biting at their skin. Johnny felt a surge of energy course through his body, his hybrid physiology already adapting to the challenging conditions. Over the next few days, a flurry of activity transformed the barren landing site into a bustling base camp. Prefabricated structures rose from the ground, housing laboratories, living quarters, and training facilities. Johnny and Karina moved in perfect harmony, their shared thoughts allowing them to coordinate the complex operation with unprecedented efficiency. As the volunteers settled in, Dr. Alara and Dr. Chen wasted no time setting up their state-of-the-art laboratory. Johnny and Karina found themselves subjected to a battery of tests, their bodies scanned and probed as the scientists sought to unravel the mysteries of their hybrid physiology. During one such examination, Johnny lay on a biobed, his skin aglow with pulsating patterns. Suddenly, he felt a jolt of sensation that wasn't his own, the cool touch of a medical instrument on Karina's arm. "Did you feel that?" Karina's voice echoed in his mind. Johnny nodded, his eyes wide with surprise. "I did. It's like I'm experiencing what you're experiencing." Dr. Lyra leaned in, her face a mixture of fascination and concern. "Fascinating. Your neural patterns are perfectly aligned. It seems your bond is deepening beyond mere telepathy." As the days passed, the first group of volunteers began their transformation process. The air in the base camp crackled with nervous energy as humans and Sakari alike prepared to unlock their dormant potential. Johnny stood before the assembled group, his voice steady as he addressed them. "What you're about to experience will challenge you in ways you can't imagine. But remember, you're not alone. We're all in this together." As the transformations began, it became clear that the process was far from uniform. Some volunteers adapted quickly, their bodies embracing the change. Others struggled, their systems rebelling against the rapid genetic alterations. In the medical bay, alarms blared as a young human woman convulsed on a biobed, her body rejecting the hybrid transformation. Johnny rushed to her side, placing his hands on her temples. He closed his eyes, channeling his energy into her trembling form. "Focus on my voice," he said, both aloud and telepathically. "Let the change flow through you. Don't fight it." Gradually, the woman's convulsions subsided. Her eyes fluttered open, now glowing with a soft, otherworldly light. Across the room, Karina helped a Sakari male whose mind was overwhelmed by the sudden influx of sensory input. She guided him through mental exercises, teaching him to filter and process the barrage of information. Their efforts were largely successful, but the difficulties faced by some volunteers did not go unnoticed. Admiral Thorne, newly arrived with his team of advisors, watched the proceedings with a critical eye. "This is too risky," he growled, cornering Johnny and Karina after a particularly challenging day. "We need a more controlled approach. We can't afford to lose a single volunteer." Johnny bristled at the Admiral's tone. "With all due respect, sir, we're dealing with unprecedented genetic changes. A rigid military-style approach won't work here. We need to be flexible, to adapt as we learn." Karina placed a calming hand on Johnny's arm, her thoughts soothing his irritation. "We understand your concerns, Admiral," she said diplomatically. "Perhaps we can find a middle ground that addresses safety concerns without stifling the natural development of hybrid abilities." As they debated, Lyra approached, her ancient eyes gleaming with wisdom. "If I may," she interjected, "I believe I can offer some insights that might help refine our methods." Over the next few weeks, Lyra's knowledge proved invaluable. She shared techniques from the original hybrid program, helping to minimize negative side effects and stabilize the transformation process. She also began teaching the volunteers about their shared ancestry, providing context for the changes they were experiencing. In the training arena, Johnny and Karina worked tirelessly to help the new hybrids harness their emerging abilities. They watched in awe as volunteers demonstrated feats of strength, agility, and psychic power that would have been impossible for their original species. A human volunteer named Marcus lifted a massive boulder with ease, his muscles rippling with newfound strength. Nearby, a Sakari named Tala created intricate illusions with her mind, bending light and shadow to her will. "Remarkable," Dr. Chen murmured, recording the displays. "The diversity of abilities is far greater than we anticipated." As the training program progressed, Dr. Chen's team made a breakthrough with the technology salvaged from the derelict spacecraft. They successfully reverse-engineered a device that seemed capable of disrupting the Void Harbinger's energy weapons. Excitement rippled through the base at this development, but it was tempered by the growing political pressure from back home. Reports came in daily of factions demanding immediate deployment of hybrid forces, while others called for a complete shutdown of the program. Johnny and Karina found themselves caught in the middle, forced to balance the urgent need for defense against the risks of rushing the hybrid development. They spent long hours in discussion, their bodies glowing as they shared thoughts and strategies. Their deliberations were interrupted by a series of mysterious equipment failures. At first, they attributed it to the harsh environment, but a pattern soon emerged that suggested sabotage. As they investigated, they uncovered a group of extremists led by a charismatic Sakari named Zara. Her piercing eyes blazed with fanatical intensity as she rallied her followers. "This hybrid abomination will be the death of the pure Sakari bloodline," she proclaimed. "We must put an end to this madness before it's too late." Johnny and Karina realized they now faced an internal threat as well as the looming Void Harbinger invasion. They decided to accelerate the training program, pushing the volunteers to their limits in a race against time. As tensions rose within the facility, long-range sensors detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the solar system. The command center erupted into frantic activity as analysts scrambled to interpret the data. "It's them," Johnny said grimly, his eyes meeting Karina's. "The Void Harbingers. They're here." With time running out and the fate of two species hanging in the balance, Johnny and Karina retreated to a private chamber. Their bodies glowed intensely as they opened their minds fully to each other, pushing the boundaries of their bond to new heights. In this moment of crisis, they knew that the decisions they made would shape the future of not just their own species, but potentially the entire galaxy. As they immersed themselves in their shared consciousness, they began to formulate a plan that would test the limits of their newfound abilities and the strength of the human-Sakari alliance. As their minds melded, a sudden clarity washed over them. The imminent arrival of the Void Harbinger invasion fleet left no room for hesitation. "We need to accelerate the training program," Johnny said, his voice firm with drive. Karina nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing in agreement. "It's risky, but we have no choice. We must push our volunteers to their absolute limits." They emerged from their private chamber, their decision made. The base buzzed with frantic activity as they implemented their new strategy. Training sessions intensified, pushing the hybrid volunteers to the brink of their physical and mental capabilities. Admiral Thorne watched the proceedings with growing unease. He cornered Johnny and Karina after a particularly grueling session. "This is madness," he growled, his face etched with concern. "You're pushing them too hard, too fast. We'll lose more volunteers than we save at this rate." Johnny stood his ground. "With all due respect, Admiral, we don't have the luxury of time. The Void Harbingers are coming, and we need to be ready." As they argued, a loud explosion rocked the facility. Alarms blared, and smoke billowed from a nearby laboratory. Johnny and Karina rushed to the scene, their enhanced senses on high alert. Dr. Chen emerged from the smoke, coughing. "Sabotage," he gasped. "Someone tampered with our prototype energy disruptor." This incident was just the beginning. Over the next few days, the facility experienced a series of equipment malfunctions and mysterious accidents. It became clear that Zara's extremist group had infiltrated deeper than they'd initially thought. Johnny and Karina found themselves torn between intensifying the training program and rooting out the saboteurs. They divided their efforts, with Johnny overseeing the training, while Karina led a covert team to investigate the security breaches. During a high-intensity training session, something extraordinary happened. A group of hybrid volunteers, pushed to their limits, experienced a synchronized surge in their abilities. Their bioluminescent patterns aligned, and they demonstrated unprecedented levels of strength, agility, and psychic prowess. Johnny watched in awe as Marcus, the human volunteer who had once struggled to lift a boulder, now effortlessly manipulated multiple objects with his mind. Tala, the Sakari illusionist, created complex, interactive holograms that could fool even the most advanced sensors. Dr. Alara rushed to Johnny's side, her eyes wide with excitement. "This is incredible. Their neural patterns are perfectly synchronized, just like yours and Karina's. It seems the accelerated program is yielding results faster than we anticipated." As the hybrid trainees reveled in their newfound abilities, Dr. Chen burst into the training arena, clutching a small device. "I've done it," he exclaimed, holding up the object. "I've managed to integrate the alien energy disrupting technology into a handheld weapon. This could give us a crucial advantage against the Void Harbingers." Johnny examined the prototype, noting its unstable energy readings. "Excellent work, Dr. Chen, but it needs refinement before we can deploy it safely." That night, Johnny and Karina retreated to their quarters, exhausted but hopeful. As they sat together, their bioluminescent patterns synchronized completely. Suddenly, they were plunged into a shared vision. They found themselves standing in an ancient, technologically advanced city. Holographic displays showed battles against monstrous, shadowy creatures, the Void Harbingers. They watched as scientists worked tirelessly, combining genetic material from multiple species to create the first hybrids. As the vision faded, Johnny and Karina gasped, their minds reeling from the influx of information. "Did you see that?" Johnny asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Karina nodded, her eyes wide. "The hidden facility. It's here, on this planet. We need to find it." The next morning, Johnny assembled a small team of the most advanced hybrid trainees. "We're going on an expedition," he announced. "There's a hidden facility somewhere on this planet, and we need to find it." As Johnny's team prepared for their mission, Karina remained at the base to oversee the training and maintain security. She watched as her bondmate led the expedition into the harsh, alien landscape, their bioluminescent patterns fading into the distance. The team faced treacherous terrain, scaling cliff faces and traversing deep canyons. Their hybrid abilities were put to the test as they encountered the planet's hostile flora and fauna. Marcus used his enhanced strength to clear a path through a dense, thorny forest, while Tala's illusions helped them avoid detection by a pack of predatory creatures. As they approached the coordinates revealed in their vision, they triggered long-dormant defense systems. Energy beams lanced out from hidden emplacements, forcing the team to use their newly honed abilities to evade and counter the attacks. Finally, they reached the entrance to the hidden facility. As they stepped inside, holographic displays flickered to life, revealing the history of the ancient civilization that created the hybrid program. The team watched in awe as the records detailed the previous conflict with the Void Harbingers and the sacrifices made to ensure the survival of future generations. Meanwhile, back at the main base, Karina faced a crisis of her own. A group of partially transformed volunteers began exhibiting erratic behavior, their unstable hybrid physiologies causing them to lash out violently. Karina rushed to the medical bay, where Dr. Lyra struggled to contain the situation. "Their neural patterns are destabilizing," the doctor explained, dodging a burst of uncontrolled psychic energy. "We need to stabilize them before they hurt themselves or others." Drawing on her enhanced abilities and leadership skills, Karina approached the agitated volunteers. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed soothingly as she projected calming thoughts. "Focus on my voice," she said, both aloud and telepathically. "Let the chaos within you settle. You are not alone in this struggle." Gradually, the affected volunteers began to calm, their erratic patterns stabilizing. As Karina helped the medical team secure the last of the troubled hybrids, an alarm blared through the facility. Admiral Thorne's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "Void Harbinger scout ship detected in orbit. All personnel to battle stations immediately." Karina's heart raced as she realized the full gravity of their situation. With the base's defenses not yet fully operational and Johnny's team out of contact, they were facing a threat they might not be prepared to handle. As she rushed to the command center, Karina knew that the decision she made in the next few moments could determine the fate of not just their facility, but potentially the entire human Sakari alliance. As the gravity of the situation sank in, Karina sprinted to the command center, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with urgency. The facility erupted into a flurry of activity as personnel rushed to their stations. Admiral Thorne stood at the center of the command hub, his face grim as he surveyed the incoming data. "Status report," Karina demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Void Harbinger scout ship detected in high orbit," an analyst responded, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. "It appears to be conducting a preliminary scan of our defenses." Karina's mind raced. They weren't ready for a full-scale invasion, but they couldn't let this scout report back to the main fleet. She made a split-second decision. "Admiral, we need to assemble a strike team immediately. We can't let that ship leave our atmosphere." Thorne nodded, his earlier reservations about the hybrid program momentarily set aside in the face of the imminent threat. "Agreed, but our defenses aren't fully operational. How do you propose we reach the scout ship? A flash of inspiration struck Karina. The battlesuits. Dr. Chen's team completed the first batch yesterday. They're untested, but they're our best shot at getting a team up there quickly. As if on cue, Dr. Chen burst into the command center, clutching a datapad. Queen Karina, Admiral, you need to see this. We've finished analyzing the energy signatures from the scout ship. Their hull composition is similar to the derelict spacecraft we studied. Our energy disruptors should be effective against their defenses. Karina's bioluminescent patterns brightened with commitment. That settles it. We launch an immediate counterattack. She turned to the communications officer. Send out an alert to all advanced hybrid trainees. I want our best and brightest suited up and ready for deployment in 15 minutes. As the facility buzzed with frantic preparations, Karina felt a familiar presence in her mind. Johnny. Even separated by distance, their bond remained strong. She sent a silent plea across their mental link, urging him to return quickly. 14 minutes later, Karina stood in the launch bay, surrounded by a team of hybrid volunteers. Their newly donned battlesuits gleamed under the harsh lighting, a fusion of human and Sakari technology. Dr. Chen approached, carrying a case of handheld energy disruptors. Remember, these are prototypes, he cautioned as he distributed the weapons. They pack a punch, but they're unstable. Use them sparingly. As the team prepared to depart, a commotion at the bay entrance caught Karina's attention. Johnny burst in, his team close behind, their faces etched with exhaustion and excitement. We found it, Johnny panted, his eyes locking with Karina's. The hidden facility, but we'll have to debrief later. What's the situation? Karina quickly brought Johnny up to speed as they boarded the transport vessel. The ship's engines roared to life, propelling them toward the upper atmosphere and the waiting Void Harbinger scout. As they ascended, Johnny shared a truncated version of their discovery. The ancient civilization they faced the Void Harbingers before. They created the first hybrids as a last-ditch effort to survive. There's so much we need to learn, but right now, we focus on the threat at hand, Karina finished, squeezing his hand. Their bioluminescent patterns synchronized, a visible manifestation of their strengthening bond. The transport ship breached the upper atmosphere, the curvature of the planet visible through the viewports. Ahead, the Void Harbinger scout loomed, its dark hull absorbing the starlight. Remember your training, Johnny addressed the team. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't let up. Our objective is to disable that ship and gather any intel we can. Are we clear? A chorus of affirmatives rang out as the transport maneuvered into position. The bay doors opened, exposing the team to the vast emptiness of space. Their battle suits automatically adjusted, protecting them from the harsh environment. On my mark, Karina said, readying her energy disruptor. 3, 2, 1, mark. The hybrid strike team launched themselves towards the Void Harbinger scout ship, their enhanced physiology and advanced suits allowing them to navigate the void with surprising agility. As they approached, the alien vessel's defenses came to life, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons. Johnny and Karina moved in perfect synchronization, their shared consciousness allowing them to anticipate and evade the incoming fire. The rest of the team followed their lead, weaving through the deadly light show. As they neared the hull, Karina activated her energy disruptor. A pulse of crackling energy burst forth, creating a temporary weakness in the scout ship's defenses. Now! She shouted, her voice carrying through the team's comm system. The strike team poured through the opening, their momentum carrying them into the alien vessel's dark interior. As the breach sealed behind them, they found themselves in a corridor of pulsating, organic-looking technology. Johnny took point, his enhanced senses on high alert. Stay sharp, he warned. We don't know what kind of internal defenses they have. As if in response to his words, a section of the wall rippled and formed into a nightmarish creature of shadow and light. The Void Harbinger lunged at the team, its form shifting and twisting in ways that defied physical laws. The hybrid defenders reacted with lightning speed, their training and enhanced abilities put to the ultimate test. Energy disruptors flared, pushing back the darkness that threatened to engulf them. Karina's mind raced as she fought. They needed to find the ship's control center, but every moment they spent fighting reduced their chances of success. She caught Johnny's eye, a plan forming between them without a word spoken. "Marcus, Tala," Johnny called out to two of their most skilled team members. "Create a diversion. The rest of you form a perimeter. Karina and I are going to find the bridge." As Marcus used his enhanced strength to tear a bulkhead free, and Tala's illusions multiplied their numbers, Johnny and Karina slipped away. They moved deeper into the ship, their bond guiding them through the maze-like corridors. Suddenly, they emerged into a vast chamber. At its center stood a being that could only be the ship's commander. Towering over them, its multiple limbs undulated in a hypnotic pattern, and its cluster of eyes fixed upon the intruders with alien intelligence. "Well," Johnny said, readying his weapon, "I guess we found the bridge." The Void Harbinger commander let out a sound that was part screech, part subsonic rumble. The very air seemed to vibrate with malevolent intent as it launched itself at the hybrid leaders. Johnny and Karina sprang into action, their movements a blur as they engaged the alien entity in combat. Their enhanced strength and speed allowed them to hold their own, but the commander's multiple limbs and otherworldly abilities made it a formidable opponent. As they fought, Karina noticed a bank of pulsating crystalline structures that seemed to be the ship's primary control interface. She caught Johnny's eye, silently communicating her intention. He nodded, understanding flowing through their bond. With a burst of speed, Karina disengaged from the fight and made a dash for the controls. The commander, sensing her intent, lashed out with a tentacle-like appendage. Johnny intercepted the attack, his body glowing with effort as he held the alien at bay. "Whatever you're going to do it fast," he grunted, straining against the commander's superior strength. Karina reached the control interface, her hands hovering over the alien technology. She closed her eyes, letting her hybrid physiology attune to the ship's systems. Information flooded her mind. Invasion plans, fleet positions, weapons capabilities. A piercing alarm cut through the air, and the ship lurched violently. Karina's eyes snapped open. "It's a self-destruct sequence," she shouted. "We need to get out of here." As Johnny grappled with the commander, Karina's fingers flew over the controls, downloading as much data as she could. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. "Karina, we're out of time," Johnny yelled, finally managing to land a solid hit on the commander, sending it reeling. They sprinted for the exit, the ship disintegrating around them. As they ran, Karina's battlesuit registered a breach in its integrity. The toxic atmosphere of the ship began to seep in, causing her vision to blur. Johnny, sensing her distress through their bond, scooped her up without breaking stride. They rejoined their team, who had been fighting a running battle back to the entry point. "Fall back to the transport," Johnny ordered, cradling Karina protectively as they made their escape. The team burst out of the failing scout ship just as it erupted in a massive explosion. The shock wave threatened to overwhelm them, but Johnny and Karina, drawing on the last reserves of their strength, created a protective field around the group. As they hurtled back towards the planet's surface, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with the strain, Karina pressed the data crystal containing the stolen information into Johnny's hand. "We did it," she whispered, her voice weak but triumphant. "We have their plans." Johnny tightened his grip on her, his concern evident in his eyes. "Stay with me, Karina. We're almost home." As the transport ship re-entered the atmosphere, trailing fire in its wake, the occupants knew that this was only the beginning. The information they'd gained could turn the tide of the coming war. But at what cost? With Karina's condition deteriorating and the main Void Harbinger fleet undoubtedly on its way, the true test of the human-Sakari alliance was yet to come. "Come!" The transport ship pierced through the atmosphere, its hull glowing red-hot from the friction of re-entry. As they descended, Johnny cradled Karina's limp form, his eyes never leaving her face. The moment they touched down, medical teams swarmed the vessel. Dr. Lyra, her face etched with concern, rushed forward to assess Karina's condition. "Get her to the medbay, stat," she ordered, her voice sharp with urgency. Hours passed in a blur of anxious waiting and frantic activity. Johnny paced outside the medbay, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing erratically with worry. Admiral Thorne and Lyra joined him, their faces grim as they discussed the implications of the stolen data. Suddenly, Johnny felt a surge of energy course through his body. Without thinking, he burst into the medbay, brushing past protesting medical staff. He reached Karina's side and grasped her hand. As their fingers intertwined, a soft glow emanated from their joined hands, spreading slowly up Karina's arm. Dr. Lyra watched in amazement as Karina's vital signs began to stabilize. "Incredible," she murmured, her eyes darting between the monitors and the glowing couple. "It's as if he's transferring his own life force to her." As dawn broke over the training planet, Karina's eyes fluttered open. She found Johnny slumped beside her, exhausted but smiling. "Welcome back," he whispered, his voice hoarse with relief. Dr. Lyra approached, her face alight with scientific curiosity. "Your recovery is unprecedented," she said, running a scanner over Karina's body. "The hybrid healing process seems to have been accelerated beyond anything we've seen before. I'd like to run some tests to understand the extent of your physiological connection." Before Karina could respond, Admiral Thorne burst into the room, his face ashen. "We've received an urgent transmission from Earth," he announced. "Several human colonies have gone dark. We believe they've fallen to void harbinger attacks." The news galvanized the base into action. Hybrid teams redoubled their training efforts, pushing themselves to new limits. Scientists worked around the clock, refining defenses and weapons based on the stolen alien technology. Despite Karina's protests, Johnny was summoned to a strategy meeting with Admiral Thorne and Lyra. They pored over the data from the Void Harbinger scout ship, searching for any advantage they could gain. Lyra's eyes widened as she decoded a section of the alien transmissions. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a complex diagram. "Their fleet formation, it's not random. They rely on a central command ship to coordinate their attacks." Admiral Thorne leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "If we could take out that command ship, we could throw their entire invasion into chaos," Johnny finished, a plan already forming in his mind. Their discussion was interrupted by a piercing alarm. Long-range sensors had detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the solar system. The main Void Harbinger invasion fleet had arrived, far sooner than anyone had anticipated. "We have less than 48 hours, Admiral Thorne said, his voice heavy with the weight of command. Johnny stood, his decision made. "I'll lead a small team to infiltrate the command ship," he said. "We'll disable their coordination systems from the inside." Admiral Thorne objected, citing the extreme risk, but Lyra supported Johnny's plan. "It's our best chance," she argued. "Maybe our only chance." As they hammered out the details, Karina entered the room, her steps slow but steady. "I'm coming with you," she declared, her voice leaving no room for argument. Dr. Lyra, following close behind, nodded her assent. Her recovery has been remarkable. She's cleared for duty. The team assembled quickly, Johnny, Karina, Lyra, and 3 other elite hybrid operatives. They donned advanced battlesuits, their sleek forms a fusion of human ingenuity and Sakari biotechnology. Dr. Chen presented them with a prototype device, its crystalline structure pulsing with energy. "This should interfere with their energy signatures," he explained. "It might give you an edge in combat." As they made final preparations, alarms blared once again. The captured Void Harbinger commander had regained consciousness and managed to send out a psychic distress signal before being subdued. "The entire fleet will be on high alert now," Lyra warned, her face grim. Undeterred, the team boarded their specially modified stealth ship. Its hull, enhanced with hybrid technology, was designed to evade Void Harbinger sensors. As they left the planet's atmosphere, the true scale of the invasion became clear. Massive alien ships filled the sky, their ominous forms blotting out the stars. The stealth ship weaved through the armada, relying on the team's enhanced reflexes and advanced cloaking technology to avoid detection. They approached the central command ship, a colossal structure dripping with weapon emplacements and energy fields. But an unexpected obstacle loomed before them. A swarm of smaller craft surrounded the command ship, their erratic movements creating an ever-shifting barrier. Johnny closed his eyes, reaching out through his deepening connection with Karina. An idea formed between them, a daring plan that would push their newfound powers to the limit. "We're going to create a disruption in their energy field," Johnny explained to the team, It'll give us a momentary window to slip through. As they initiated the plan, Johnny and Karina's bioluminescent patterns aligned perfectly. A pulse of energy emanated from their bodies, temporarily overloading the nearby Void Harbinger sensors. The stealth ship slipped through the gap in the defenses, latching onto the hull of the massive command vessel with a muted thud. The team donned their helmets and activated their weapons, preparing to breach the alien ship. Johnny and Karina shared a silent moment of communication, their bond filling them with perseverance and hope. The airlock hissed open, exposing them to the alien environment. They moved swiftly and silently across the hull, their enhanced senses alert for any sign of detection. As they searched for an entry point, they encountered the first of many challenges that would test their skills, teamwork, and the very limits of their hybrid nature. Before them loomed a seemingly impenetrable barrier of shifting energy, its surface rippling with otherworldly patterns. The fate of their civilizations hung in the balance as they prepared to breach the heart of the Void Harbinger command ship. The infiltration team approached the shifting energy barrier, its otherworldly patterns rippling before them. Johnny and Karina exchanged a silent glance, their hybrid senses attuned to the alien technology. With a nod, Karina stepped forward, her fingers dancing over the surface of a small device she'd extracted from her suit. "This should disrupt the energy field long enough for us to pass through," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the low hum emanating from the barrier. As she activated the device, the energy field flickered and wavered. Johnny signaled the team, and they moved swiftly, passing through the destabilized barrier with practiced efficiency. Once on the other side, they found themselves in a dimly lit corridor that seemed to pulse with an eerie, bioluminescent glow. The team advanced cautiously, their enhanced senses on high alert. Suddenly, Johnny held up a fist, signaling everyone to halt. A patrol of Void Harbinger warriors glided silently around the corner, their otherworldly forms sending chills down the spines of even the seasoned hybrid operatives. "Take cover," Johnny whispered, his voice barely a breath. The team pressed themselves against the walls, their suits' adaptive camouflage blending seamlessly with the alien architecture. As the patrol passed by, mere inches from their position, Karina felt her heart pounding in her chest. She could sense Johnny's tension through their bond, his muscles coiled and ready to spring into action if they were discovered. Once the danger had passed, Lyra consulted the data they had stolen from the scout ship. "The central control hub should be 2 levels up," she informed the team, her eyes scanning the alien schematics. As they made their way deeper into the vessel, they encountered a series of security checkpoints and energy barriers. Each time, Karina's expertise proved invaluable. Her fingers flew over alien interfaces, bypassing complex security protocols with an intuition that seemed to border on the supernatural. "It's as if I've done this before," she muttered after disabling a particularly intricate energy field. Johnny squeezed her shoulder reassuringly, but the implication of her words hung heavy in the air. As they neared their objective, the team stumbled upon a massive chamber that stopped them in their tracks. Row upon row of stasis pods filled the room, each containing a hybrid being in various stages of development. The sight was both fascinating and horrifying. "By the stars," Lyra breathed, her eyes wide with shock. "They've been experimenting with human and Sakari DNA." Johnny and Karina approached one of the pods, their reflections distorted in its curved surface. Inside, a being that looked eerily similar to them floated in suspension, its bioluminescent patterns pulsing weakly. This can't be a coincidence," Karina said, her voice trembling. "Our abilities, our bond. Could it all be the result of Void Harbinger experimentation?" The implications threatened to overwhelm them, but Lyra's voice cut through their shock. "We can't dwell on this now. Remember why we're here." As if in response to her words, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the chamber. The team had unknowingly triggered a security system while examining the pods. "We need to move now," Johnny ordered, his tactical training kicking in. The corridor outside the chamber was already filling with Void Harbinger warriors, their alien weapons charging with deadly energy. The infiltration team sprang into action, their advanced weaponry and hybrid abilities giving them an edge in the close quarters combat. Johnny and Karina moved in perfect sync, their movements fluid and devastating. Where Johnny's raw strength smashed through the alien defenses, Karina's agility and precision struck at vulnerable points. Their bioluminescent patterns flared with exertion, creating a dazzling light show that seemed to confuse and disorient their adversaries. As they fought their way towards the control hub, Dr. Chen's voice crackled over their comms. "We're detecting a massive energy buildup within the Void Harbinger fleet," he reported, his voice tight with urgency. "They're preparing to launch an attack on the planet. If they succeed, the hybrid training facility will be obliterated." The news lent new urgency to their mission. They pushed forward with renewed commitment, cutting through waves of Void Harbinger resistance. Finally, they breached the central control hub. As the doors hissed open, they found themselves face to face with the Void Harbinger's Supreme Commander. The alien leader towered over them, its multiple limbs writhing with impossibly strong energy. A pulsating field surrounded it, distorting the air and sending waves of discomfort through the hybrid team. The Supreme Commander's presence was overwhelming. Its psychic emanations assaulted their enhanced senses, threatening to disorient and incapacitate them. Johnny felt his vision blur, his muscles weakening under the onslaught. But then he felt Karina's hand in his, their fingers intertwining. Their bond surged with power, creating a shield against the alien's mental assault. Together, they stood firm, facing the Supreme Commander with unwavering drive. As Johnny and Karina engaged the alien leader in combat, the rest of the team rushed to disable the ship's coordination systems. Lyra's fingers flew over the alien controls, her ancient knowledge allowing her to decipher the complex technology. The battle raged on, the Supreme Commander displaying abilities far beyond those of the regular Void Harbinger warriors. Its limbs struck with lightning speed, energy beams lancing from its eyes. Johnny and Karina dodged and weaved, their movements perfectly coordinated. Suddenly, Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. "I found it! We can send a command signal to turn their fleet against each other." As she worked to implement the signal, Johnny and Karina exchanged a look. Without words, they knew what they had to do. Drawing on their bond, they began to channel their hybrid abilities in a way they had never attempted before. Energy crackled between them, building to a crescendo. With a combined shout of effort, they released a massive surge of bioelectric energy. The pulse struck the Supreme Commander, temporarily disrupting its defenses. In that moment of vulnerability, Johnny and Karina struck. Their synchronized attack overwhelmed the alien leader, driving it back. At the same instant, Lyra activated the command signal. The effect was immediate and devastating. Through the control hub's view screens, they watched as the Void Harbinger fleet erupted into chaos, ships turning their weapons on each other in a spectacular display of destruction. But their victory was short-lived. Alarms blared throughout the ship, warning of critical system failures. The backlash from the fleet-wide command signal had damaged the command ship's core systems. "We need to get out of here," Lyra shouted over the din of failing machinery and explosions. As they turned to leave, a massive explosion rocked the ship, nearly throwing them off their feet. The infiltration team ran through the deteriorating corridors, fighting their way past disoriented Void Harbinger warriors and navigating around collapsing structures. They reached the airlock where their stealth ship was docked, hope rising in their chests. But as they approached, another explosion tore through the ship. When the smoke cleared, they found their escape route sealed off by twisted metal and sparking energy conduits. Trapped aboard the dying alien vessel, Johnny and Karina shared a determined look. They had come too far to fail now. As alarms blared and the ship continued to break apart around them, they began to formulate a new plan. Their mission wasn't over yet, and they would find a way to survive. They had to. The fate of two civilizations still hung in the balance, and their journey was nowhere near the end. The ship's hull groaned ominously as another explosion rocked the vessel. Johnny and Karina exchanged a look of commitment, their minds already racing for a solution. "We need another way out," Johnny said, his eyes scanning the corridor for any potential escape route. Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. "The hangar bay. There should be scout ships we can use." Without hesitation, the team sprinted through the disintegrating corridors, their enhanced physiology allowing them to push through the toxic fumes filling the air. Johnny led the way, his hybrid senses alert for any signs of danger. As they rounded a corner, they encountered a group of panicked Void Harbinger warriors. Johnny and Karina moved in perfect synchronization, their combined abilities making short work of the aliens. The rest of the team pressed forward, knowing every second counted. They burst into the hangar bay, greeted by the sight of several sleek scout ships. Karina immediately ran to the control panel, her fingers dancing over the alien interface. "The bay doors are sealed," she called out, frustration evident in her voice. "This system is more complex than anything I've encountered before." Johnny noticed Karina's bioluminescent patterns flickering erratically. He realized the strain of recent events was taking its toll on her still recovering body. Without thinking, he reached out and placed his hand on her shoulder. The effect was immediate. Their patterns synchronized, and suddenly the alien code seemed to make sense. Together, they worked through the system, their combined mental prowess deciphering the complex algorithms. "Got it!" Karina exclaimed as the massive bay doors began to slide open. The team quickly boarded the nearest scout ship, with Karina taking the pilot's seat. Her hands moved confidently over the controls, the ship responding to her touch as if she'd flown it 100 times before. As they soared out of the disintegrating command ship, the full scale of the battle became apparent. The Void Harbinger fleet was in disarray, easy targets for the human and Sakari forces. Admiral Thorne's voice crackled over their comms, directing waves of hybrid-piloted fighters to exploit the chaos. Just as they thought they were in the clear, Dr. Chen's urgent transmission came through. "The destruction of the command ship has activated a dead man's switch. All the hybrid stasis pods are awakening. Thousands of artificially created hybrids are coming online across the alien fleet." The implications hit them like a physical blow. These new hybrids could either be their salvation or their doom. "We need to make contact," Johnny said, his voice firm. "We might be the only ones who can reach them." Some team members voiced their objections, arguing for a return to the safety of the training planet. But Karina sided with Johnny, her eyes reflecting the same grit. "We can't abandon them," she said. "They're part of us, whether we like it or not." As they debated their next move, the ship's sensors blared a warning. Lyra's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. "Massive energy buildup detected. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Dr. Chen's voice came through again, confirming their worst fears. "The Void Harbingers are preparing a last-ditch effort, an energy weapon capable of destroying entire planets." The gravity of the situation settled over the team. They had to act fast, or everything they'd fought for would be lost. Johnny stepped up to the ship's communication array. "I'm going to broadcast a message to the hybrids. It might be our only chance." As Karina piloted the ship back into the heart of the battle, Johnny's voice rang out across the communication channels. He spoke of shared heritage, of the potential for peace, of a future where humans, Sakari, and hybrids could coexist. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some hybrid-controlled ships began to turn against their Void Harbinger masters, while others moved to intercept Johnny's team. The space around them became a maelstrom of energy weapons and explosions. Karina's piloting skills were pushed to the limit as she weaved through the battle, dodging fire from both sides. Johnny continued his broadcast, his words becoming more impassioned with each passing moment. Suddenly, a massive energy signature appeared on their sensors. A colossal ship, unlike anything they'd ever seen, emerged from a wormhole that tore open the fabric of space itself. "What is that?" Lyra gasped, her ancient knowledge offering no answers. The new arrival hung in space, its intentions unknown. As Johnny and Karina shared a look of uncertainty, they knew that the next few moments would determine the fate of not just their mission, but potentially their entire civilization. The scout ship's engines hummed as Karina adjusted their course, ready to face whatever this new development might bring. The battle raged on around them, but for a moment all eyes were on the mysterious vessel that had entered the fray. Frey. Its massive form dwarfed even the largest Void Harbinger vessels, casting an imposing shadow across the battlefield. As if responding to an unspoken command, weapons fire from all sides ceased, creating an eerie silence in the vacuum of space. The ship's sleek, otherworldly design bore no resemblance to any known technology. Its surface shimmered with an iridescent glow, patterns of light rippling across its hull in hypnotic waves. The team watched in awe as the vessel's presence seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. Suddenly, the scout ship's communication array crackled to life. A melodious voice speaking in multiple languages simultaneously filled the cabin. Representatives of Earth, Sakari, and the Void Harbingers, the voice intoned, its words resonating with an otherworldly timbre. We are the guardians, caretakers of the precursor legacy. We request your presence for a diplomatic meeting aboard our vessel. The future of your civilizations hangs in the balance. Johnny and Karina exchanged a look of stunned disbelief. The precursors, a civilization thought to be nothing more than myth and legend, were real, and they were here. We need to accept, Karina said, her voice barely above a whisper. This could change everything. Johnny nodded, his expression a mix of drive and apprehension. Agreed. Let's hope this isn't jumping from the frying pan into the fire. With steady hands, Karina guided their stolen scout ship towards the colossal precursor vessel. As they approached, a shimmering field enveloped their craft, gently guiding them towards an opening that materialized in the ship's hull. The docking bay they entered was vast, easily large enough to house entire fleets. As the scout ship touched down, Johnny and Karina saw other vessels arriving, sleek Sakari ships, bulky human transports, and the angular craft of the Void Harbingers. As they exited their ship, they were greeted by tall, luminous beings. The Guardians stood at least 9 feet tall, their bodies seeming to shift between solid matter and pure energy. Their eyes, if they could be called that, were swirling vortexes of light that seemed to peer into the very essence of those they observed. Welcome, Johnny Chen and Queen Karina, one of the Guardians said, its voice resonating not just in their ears, but in their minds as well. We have been watching your progress with great interest. Please, follow us. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Johnny and Karina marveled at the advanced technology surrounding them. Walls shifted and changed as they passed, and gravity seemed to be more of a suggestion than a law. They were led to a vast chamber, its ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. The walls were alive with swirling images, showing real-time footage of the battle outside. In the center of the room stood a group of Void Harbingers, including their imposing Supreme Commander. On the opposite side, a holographic projection of Admiral Thorn flickered to life. The Guardian who had greeted them moved to the center of the room, its form pulsing with energy. We have called you here because the conflict between your peoples has reached a critical juncture, it began. What you do not know is that you are all children of the same legacy, descendants of the ancient precursor civilization. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The Supreme Commander's limbs writhed in agitation, while Admiral Thorn's hologram flickered as he leaned forward in shock. The Guardian continued, the hybrid program was not a weapon or a tool of domination, but a means to reunite your divergent species, to unlock the full potential that lies dormant within you all. As the implications of this revelation sank in, alarms began to blare throughout the ship. The Guardian's form flickered, its light dimming momentarily. The Void Harbinger weapon has locked onto our vessel, it announced, its voice tinged with urgency. We can withstand the attack, but doing so will divert power from a device capable of stabilizing and enhancing the hybrid transformation process for all your species. This device could end the conflict and usher in a new era of peace and advancement. Johnny stepped forward, his mind racing. What do you need from us? The Guardian's gaze focused on him, then shifted to Karina, and finally to a young Void Harbinger warrior standing apart from its comrades. We need prime specimens from each species to undergo the process. You two and this young one named Zex have been chosen. Before anyone could respond, another alarm sounded, more urgent than the first. The images on the wall showed the Void Harbinger doomsday weapon powering up, its energy signature growing exponentially. We must act now, the Guardian urged. Will you participate in the hybrid stabilization process? Or shall we evacuate and attempt to destroy the weapon through conventional means? Johnny looked at Karina, seeing his own mixture of fear and grit reflected in her eyes. They both knew the risks, but also the potential reward. Without a word, they clasped hands, their bioluminescent patterns synchronizing. We'll do it, Johnny said, speaking for both of them. Zex, the young void harbinger, stepped forward hesitantly. I will participate as well, it said, its voice a mix of nervousness and commitment. The Guardian nodded solemnly. Then let us begin. The fate of your civilizations now rests in your hands. As they were led to a specially designed chamber, Johnny and Karina could feel the tension in the air. The ship shuddered as the first waves of energy from the doomsday weapon washed over it. Time was running out. They entered the chamber with Zex, the door sealing behind them with a soft hiss. The walls began to pulse with energy, tendrils of light reaching out to envelop them. As the stabilization process began, Johnny felt his consciousness expanding, merging with Karina's in a way that surpassed even their deepest previous connection. And then, unexpectedly, he felt Zex's mind joining theirs. The void. Harbinger's alien thoughts were chaotic at first, filled with confusion and fear. But as the energy cocoon intensified around them, those thoughts began to clarify, merging with their own in a symphony of shared experiences and emotions. Outside the chamber, the battle raged on, but within, a new understanding was being forged, one that could reshape the future of three civilizations. As their bodies underwent rapid changes, their minds pushed the boundaries of what it meant to be human, Sakari or Void Harbinger. They were becoming something new, something unprecedented, and as the doomsday weapon reached its final countdown, the fate of countless lives hung in the balance, dependent on the success of this ancient precursor technology and the willingness of three individuals to embrace a shared destiny. Destiny. The energy coursing through their bodies intensified, reaching a crescendo that threatened to overwhelm their senses. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the chamber, bathing the entire room in an otherworldly light. The energy cocoon surrounding Johnny, Karina, and Zex dissipated, revealing their transformed forms. As the light faded, the three emerged, their bodies radiating a soft, pulsating glow that combined elements of all three species. Johnny's skin now shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, reminiscent of the Sakari, while his frame had taken on the lean, powerful build of a Void Harbinger. Karina's regal bearing was accentuated by shimmering tendrils that flowed from her head like living hair, and her eyes glowed with an inner light that spoke of both human persistence and alien wisdom. Zex, once a mass of writhing tentacles, now stood on two legs, his body a perfect blend of all three races. The moment they stepped out of the chamber, a wave of consciousness washed over them. They could feel the minds of thousands of artificial hybrids across the battlefield, awakening and reaching out in confusion and fear. Without hesitation, Johnny, Karina, and Zex reached back through this newfound telepathic link. They shared their experiences, their understanding, and their vision of unity. The effect was immediate and profound. Across the battlefield, hybrid-piloted ships ceased fire. The awakened hybrids, influenced by the shared consciousness, turned away from conflict and joined the call for peace. In the command center, the Void Harbinger's Supreme Commander watched in disbelief as their doomsday weapon, mere seconds from firing, suddenly powered down. Zex, his mind now integrated with the Void Harbinger technology, had remotely deactivated the weapon through sheer force of will. Admiral Thorne's hologram flickered as he processed the rapidly changing situation. His voice, tinged with a mix of awe and uncertainty, rang out across the communication channels. All human and Sakari forces, stand down. I repeat, stand down. Cease fire immediately. The battlefield fell silent as ships from all sides powered down their weapons. The remaining Void Harbinger forces, now under the influence of the stabilized hybrids, followed suit. The Guardian who had initiated the process approached Johnny, Karina, and Zex. Its form seemed to pulse with approval. You have succeeded beyond our expectations. The reunification of our children has begun. As if on cue, a series of sleek metallic objects materialized in the chamber. The Guardian gestured towards them. These are gifts from the precursors, terraforming devices and genetic stabilizers. They will aid you in rehabilitating worlds ravaged by war and help others undergo the hybrid transformation. Johnny stepped forward, his new form moving with fluid grace. Thank you. We'll use these tools wisely. Karina, her voice resonating with newfound power, addressed the assembled representatives. Today marks the beginning of a new era. No longer will we be divided by our differences. Together, we will forge a future that honors the legacy of the precursors and the unique strengths of each of our civilizations. Zex, his tentacles now resembling graceful limbs, turned to the Void Harbinger's supreme commander. Our path of conquest ends today. We have a new purpose now, to heal and to grow. As news of the ceasefire spread, the three civilizations began the complex process of integration. The precursor ship became a neutral meeting ground, with Johnny and Karina establishing a new governing council to coordinate the peaceful merger of human, Sakari, and Void Harbinger societies. Zex, embracing his role as a bridge between cultures, returned to the Void Harbinger fleet. His presence eased tensions and facilitated the exchange of knowledge and technology that had once been jealously guarded secrets. The Guardians, their task complete, prepared to depart. Before leaving, they transferred control of their advanced ship to Johnny, Karina, and Zex. The future of this new civilization rests in your hands, the lead Guardian said, its form already beginning to fade. Guide them well. As the Guardian's ship disappeared into a shimmering wormhole, Johnny turned to Karina, their enhanced connection allowing them to communicate volumes with a single glance. They began planning their next steps, deciding to establish a series of hybrid training centers across multiple worlds. Admiral Thorne's hologram flickered as he made a surprising announcement. I've decided to undergo the hybrid stabilization process myself, he said, his voice firm with drive. It's time to lead by example. As the first joint mission of the new hybrid civilization took shape, the reclamation and rehabilitation of war-torn worlds, Johnny and Karina found themselves drawn to a quiet corner of the ship. Their enhanced physiology allowed them to experience their connection on a level that transcended their former understanding of intimacy. We could start a family, Karina said softly, her hand intertwined with Johnny's. Our child would be the ultimate symbol of unity. Before Johnny could respond, an alert chimed from the ship's console. A technician's voice came through the communication system. Queen Karina, Johnny, we've detected an anomalous energy signature in an unexplored sector. It bears similarities to precursor technology, but there's something different about it. Johnny and Karina shared a look of intrigue. Set a course, Johnny commanded. We're going to investigate. As the ship's engines hummed to life, steering them towards the unknown coordinates, Johnny and Karina stood side by side on the bridge. The stars stretched into streaks of light as they entered hyperspace, carrying them towards a new mystery, and perhaps the next chapter in their ever-evolving story. As the ship's engines hummed to life, steering them towards the unknown coordinates, Johnny and Karina stood side by side on the bridge. The stars stretched into streaks of light as they entered hyperspace, carrying them towards a new mystery, and perhaps the next chapter in their ever-evolving story. Hours later, the ship decelerated, revealing a vast asteroid field looming before them. Amidst the tumbling rocks, a massive structure emerged, an ancient space station of breathtaking proportions. Look at that architecture, Karina breathed, her enhanced vision picking out intricate details. It's definitely precursor, but there's something different about it. Johnny nodded, his fingers dancing across the control panel. I'm detecting energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. Whatever this place is, it's not just precursor tech. They carefully navigated through the asteroid field, the ship's advanced sensors allowing them to plot a safe course. As they approached the station, a docking bay opened silently, inviting them in. Well, Johnny said with a grin, shall we accept the invitation? Karina's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with excitement. Let's do it. They docked the ship and stepped out into the cavernous interior of the station. The air was surprisingly fresh, and soft lights activated as they moved forward, revealing corridors lined with unfamiliar technology. This place is enormous, Karina said, her voice echoing slightly. Where do we even begin? As if in response, a holographic interface materialized before them. Streams of data flowed across its surface, coalescing into a humanoid form. Welcome, a melodious voice greeted them. I am Nexus, the artificial intelligence tasked with maintaining this facility. You are the first visitors we have received in over 50,000 years. Johnny and Karina exchanged glances. "We're honored," Johnny replied. "Can you tell us more about this place?" Nexus's form shifted, displaying images of the station's construction. This repository was created by a group of precursor scientists who foresaw the eventual divergence of their species. They sought to preserve their most advanced discoveries for future generations, discoveries that could reshape the very fabric of the universe. The AI guided them through the station, revealing vast databases of knowledge on terraforming, faster-than-light travel, and sustainable energy production. Johnny and Karina absorbed the information, their enhanced minds processing the data at incredible speeds. As they explored deeper into the station, they came upon a chamber filled with sleek pod-like structures. Nexus's hologram appeared beside them. "These are prototype hybrid enhancement pods," the AI explained. "They offer the potential to further evolve your hybrid physiology, unlocking abilities beyond what you currently possess." Johnny looked at Karina, seeing his own mix of excitement and apprehension reflected in her eyes. "What do you think?" he asked softly. Karina took his hand, her bioluminescent patterns synchronizing with his. "We've come this far together. Why stop now?" They stepped into the pods, which sealed around them with a soft hiss. Energy began to swirl within, enveloping their bodies in a cocoon of light. For hours, they remained suspended in a state between consciousness and deep sleep, their bodies and minds undergoing profound changes. When the pods finally opened, Johnny and Karina emerged, their forms radiating with newfound power. Their bioluminescent patterns now shifted and changed in response to their thoughts and the environment around them. "This is incredible," Karina whispered, flexing her fingers and watching patterns of light dance across her skin. Before they could fully explore their new abilities, an alert chimed from Nexus's interface. "I've detected signs of unrest in your home systems," the AI announced. "There appear to be factions resistant to the ongoing hybridization efforts." Johnny's expression hardened. "We need to get back. Our people need us." Nexus nodded. "Before you go, I have something for you." A small crystal materialized in the air before them. "This contains coordinates for other precursor outposts and instructions for creating a network of wormhole gates to connect them. I've also transferred a copy of myself to your ship's computer to assist you in your future endeavors." Karina took the crystal, feeling its weight in her hand. "Thank you, Nexus. This knowledge will be invaluable." As they prepared to leave, Johnny and Karina's enhanced senses allowed them to navigate the treacherous asteroid field with unprecedented ease. Their ship slipped between the rocks, its course smooth and precise. During the journey back, Karina suddenly gasped, her hand flying to her abdomen. Johnny was at her side in an instant. "What is it? Are you all right?" Karina looked up at him, her eyes wide with wonder. "Johnny, I think the enhancement process affected my reproductive system. I can feel changes, and I think I'm capable of bearing hybrid offspring now." The implications of this discovery hung in the air between them, a mixture of excitement and concern for what it might mean for the future of their species. As they approached the nearest hybrid training center, they could already see signs of the unrest Nexus had warned them about. Ships from various factions circled the facility, their intentions unclear. Johnny opened a communication channel. "This is Johnny and Queen Karina returning from a diplomatic mission. We request immediate docking and an emergency meeting with all faction representatives." The response was immediate, filled with a mix of relief and urgency. As their ship touched down in the docking bay, they could see a crowd gathering to meet them. The moment they stepped out, gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembled group. Their enhanced appearance and the palpable aura of power surrounding them caused both awe and unease. Before they could address the crowd, an alarm blared throughout the facility. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Warning! Armed insurgents have breached the perimeter. All personnel, enact emergency protocols immediately." Johnny and Karina shared a look of perseverance. Their newfound abilities were about to be put to the test, and the fate of their fragile alliance hung in the balance. Balance. Johnny and Karina exchanged a determined glance, their bioluminescent patterns flaring in unison. Without a word, they sprang into action. Johnny's enhanced strength allowed him to effortlessly lift and move heavy equipment, creating makeshift barricades at key points throughout the facility. His movements were fluid and precise, each action calculated for maximum efficiency. Meanwhile, Karina's heightened senses stretched out across the training center. She could hear the rapid heartbeats of frightened trainees and smell the acrid scent of weapon discharges. "This way," she called out, guiding a group of vulnerable hybrids to safety. Her voice carried a calming resonance that seemed to steady those around her. As the couple worked in tandem, their bioluminescent patterns pulsed in perfect synchronization. It was as if they were operating on a shared wavelength, anticipating each other's needs and actions, without a word spoken between them. The initial assault was contained, but the extremists regrouped quickly. The distinctive whine of void harbinger weapons filled the air as they began to breach the outer defenses. "We need more support," Johnny said, his eyes scanning the chaos around them. He tapped a command into his wrist device, activating the Nexus AI they had brought from the precursor outpost. A holographic interface materialized before them, Nexus's melodious voice cutting through the din of battle, analyzing current tactical situation, recommending deployment of precursor shield technology to reinforce vulnerable sectors. Following Nexus's guidance, Johnny and Karina activated the advanced shield generators they had recovered. A shimmering barrier of energy enveloped the training center, its iridescent surface rippling as it deflected enemy fire. Karina suddenly gasped, her eyes widening. "Johnny, I think I can feel the center's systems." She placed her hand on a nearby control panel, and to her amazement, lines of code began scrolling across the screen at her mere touch. "It's responding to me," she breathed. "I can control it." With a thought, Karina activated the training center's dormant defense systems. Hidden panels slid open, revealing automated turrets that swiveled to target the attackers. Energy fields sprang to life in corridors, channeling the extremist movements and limiting their options. Johnny nodded approvingly. "Great work. I'm going to lead a counterattack. We need to push them back." He gathered a small team of the most advanced hybrid trainees, their bodies glowing with newfound power. "Follow my lead," Johnny instructed. "We're going to outflank them and disarm as many as we can." The team moved out, their enhanced abilities allowing them to navigate the chaotic battlefield with uncanny grace. Johnny led them through maintenance tunnels and air ducts, emerging behind a group of extremists who were focused on breaching a reinforced door. "Now!" Johnny shouted, and his team sprang into action. The fight was intense but brief. The hybrids' superior speed and strength, combined with their perfect coordination, quickly overwhelmed the extremists. Within minutes, a dozen attackers were disarmed and restrained. As word of this victory spread, a ripple of uncertainty passed through the remaining extremists. Some began to fall back, their perseverance wavering in the face of the hybrids' unexpected capabilities. Amidst the chaos, Karina noticed a young girl separated from the other attackers. The girl's leg was bleeding, and her eyes were wide with fear and confusion. Karina approached slowly, her hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "It's all right," Karina said softly. "What's your name?" "Kira," the girl stammered, her weapon shaking in her hands. Karina knelt beside her. "Kira, I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help." She reached out, gently placing her hand on Kira's arm. As they touched, Karina felt a surge of empathy, and suddenly a mental link formed between them. In an instant, Kira experienced the harmony and potential of hybridization through Karina's mind. She saw the beauty of unity, the strength in diversity. Tears welled up in her eyes as she lowered her weapon. I didn't know," Kira whispered. "We were told such horrible things about hybrids. But it's not true, is it?" Karina smiled warmly. "No, it's not. There's so much more to learn and understand. Will you help us show the others?" Kira nodded, her expression shifting from fear to dedication. As the battle raged on, reinforcements arrived from nearby hybrid settlements. A fleet of ships appeared in the sky, led by a familiar figure. Admiral Thorne, his hybrid form radiating power and authority. "This is Admiral Thorne," his voice boomed over the communication channels. "Lay down your weapons immediately. We have you surrounded." The arrival of these forces, combined with the efforts of Johnny, Karina, and the hybrid defenders, finally turned the tide. The remaining extremists, realizing the futility of their position, began to surrender. In the aftermath, Johnny and Karina worked tirelessly to repair the damage and heal the injured. They applied advanced precursor medical techniques, accelerating the recovery of both hybrids and non-hybrids alike. As the immediate crisis subsided, they turned their attention to addressing the root causes of the conflict. They organized a public forum, inviting representatives from all factions to voice their concerns and fears about hybridization. The discussions were heated at times, but Johnny and Karina's enhanced communication abilities helped bridge the gaps between different groups. They presented the knowledge and technologies discovered at the precursor outpost, demonstrating the potential benefits for all species. "We're not forcing anyone to change," Johnny explained to the assembled crowd. "We're offering a choice, a chance to be part of something greater while still preserving what makes each of us unique." Karina nodded in agreement. "And we want to explore further, to learn more about our precursor heritage and what it means for our future. We're establishing a network of outposts throughout the galaxy, and we need volunteers from all species to join us." This announcement generated excitement among many, even some former extremists who now saw an opportunity for adventure and discovery. As preparations for these expeditions began, Johnny and Karina stood on the observation deck of the training center, looking out at the stars. Suddenly, an alarm chimed from a nearby console. "What is it?" Johnny asked, moving to check the readout. Karina's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. "It's an energy surge, unlike anything we've seen before. It's coming from deep space." They shared a look of wonder and apprehension. Whatever this new discovery was, it promised to change everything once again. Again, the energy spike pulsed on the screen, its origin a mystery that beckoned to be solved. But before Johnny and Karina could begin planning their deep space expedition, a priority transmission cut through their contemplation. Admiral Thorne's holographic form materialized before them, his expression grave. "Johnny, Karina, we have an urgent situation." Thorne's voice crackled with static. "The Epsilon Eridani colony has gone dark. All communications ceased abruptly 6 hours ago." Johnny's brow furrowed. "The human Sakari hybrid settlement? That's one of our most advanced outposts." Karina's eyes darted between the energy spike readout and Thorne's hologram. "Could there be a connection?" Thorne nodded grimly. "It's possible. We need you to investigate immediately." Johnny and Karina shared a look of understanding. Their deep space plans would have to wait. "We're on it, Admiral," Johnny confirmed. "We'll assemble a team and depart within the hour." As Thorne's hologram faded, Johnny and Karina sprang into action. They quickly gathered a group of elite hybrid specialists, including Zex, the former Void Harbinger who had become a valuable ally, and Kira, the young ex-extremist whose empathic abilities had grown exponentially since her conversion. Within the hour, their advanced exploration vessel, jam-packed with newly integrated precursor tech, broke orbit. The ship's sleek design belied its immense power as it sliced through space towards the Epsilon Eridani system. During the journey, Johnny briefed the team on their mission. "We don't know what we're dealing with," he explained, his voice steady but tinged with concern. "Our priority is to re-establish contact with the colony and ensure the safety of its inhabitants." Karina added, "We'll be using our enhanced abilities to their fullest extent. Zex, your knowledge of Void Harbinger tech might prove invaluable. Kira, your empathic skills could be crucial in understanding what's happened." As they approached Epsilon Eridani, tension mounted on the bridge. The system's third planet, home to the hybrid colony, came into view. What they saw made them gasp collectively. A shimmering, translucent energy field enveloped the entire planet, pulsating with an otherworldly glow. The once bustling orbital stations floated silently, seemingly frozen in time. "By the precursors," Zex whispered, his tentacles writhing in agitation. Johnny immediately opened all communication channels. "Epsilon Eridani colony, this is Johnny. Please respond." His words echoed back, met only with eerie silence. Karina closed her eyes, extending her telepathic senses towards the planet, her face contorted with effort. "I sense life, but it's muted, like they're all asleep." Kira joined her, linking their empathic abilities. "There's something else," she added, her voice trembling. "A vast consciousness, ancient and powerful. It's watching us." Zex, meanwhile, had been analyzing the energy field. "This technology is beyond anything I've encountered," he reported. "But there's a small fluctuation in the field integrity. It could be an opening." As if in response to Zex's observation, a narrow gap appeared in the energy field, just large enough for a single person to pass through. Johnny stood, his decision made. "I'm going in. My hybrid physiology gives me the best chance of surviving whatever's on the other side." Karina gripped his arm, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and perseverance. "I'll maintain our telepathic link. Whatever you face in there, you won't face it alone." With a nod to his team, Johnny entered the airlock. As the outer doors opened, he took a deep breath and launched himself towards the shimmering barrier. For a moment, it seemed as if the field would reject him, but then he slipped through, disappearing from view. Inside the field, Johnny found himself in a transformed version of the colony he knew. The buildings stood intact, but an unnatural stillness pervaded the air. Colonists stood frozen in mid-motion, their bodies emitting a soft, pulsating glow. "Karina, can you hear me?" Johnny projected his thoughts. "Yes, but faintly," came the response. "What do you see?" As Johnny began to describe his surroundings, he felt a presence materialize behind him. Turning, he came face to face with a holographic projection of a being unlike any he had encountered before. Its form shifted constantly, as if struggling to maintain a shape comprehensible to Johnny's perception. "Welcome, hybrid," the being's voice resonated in Johnny's mind. "I am the Overseer, guardian of the Precursor Legacy. You stand at the threshold of a great test, one that will determine the fate of your civilization." Johnny's mind raced, struggling to process the implications of the Overseer's words. As he prepared to respond, he sensed the weight of countless lives hanging in the balance, knowing that his next actions would shape the future of their species in ways he could scarcely imagine. Imagine. Johnny took a deep breath, his hybrid physiology buzzing with energy as he faced the ethereal form of the Overseer. The weight of countless lives pressed upon him, but his determination remained unshaken. "No," Johnny said firmly, "we won't be part of your test. Our civilization will forge its own path, free from manipulation." The Overseer's form flickered, its shifting visage betraying a hint of surprise. "You reject our offer of advancement? The potential to elevate your entire species?" "We'll elevate ourselves," Johnny replied, his voice steady, "on our own terms." As the words left his mouth, a tremor ran through the colony. The frozen colonists began to stir, the unnatural stillness giving way to confused murmurs and gasps. The shimmering energy field surrounding the planet pulsed erratically, its integrity failing. Johnny felt a sudden pull, as if reality itself was shifting around him. In an instant, he found himself back on the bridge of the exploration vessel, surrounded by his team. Karina rushed to him, their bodies instinctively moving in sync. As they embraced, their bioluminescent patterns flared to life, intertwining in a dazzling display of light and color. The connection between them deepened, transcending the physical as their minds linked on a level they'd never experienced before. "Johnny," Karina breathed, her eyes wide with a mixture of relief and concern. "What happened down there?" Before he could respond, a violent tremor shook the ship. Zex's tentacles flew over the control panels, his expression grim. "The energy field is collapsing," he reported, "but there's something else. The surge we detected earlier, it's intensifying." Through the view screen, they watched as a visible distortion appeared in space near the Epsilon Eridani system. It rippled and pulsed, growing larger with each passing moment. "It's expanding exponentially," Kira said, her voice tight with fear. "At this rate, it'll engulf the nearby planets within hours." Johnny's mind raced, processing the information and formulating a plan. "We need to contain it. Zex, can we modify our ship's precursor tech to create a containment field?" Zex's tentacles writhed in concentration. "Theoretically, yes, but it would require precise calibration and an immense amount of power." "Then that's what we'll do," Johnny declared. He turned to his team, his expression resolute. Everyone, to your stations. We're going to push our abilities to the limit. As they scrambled to implement the plan, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Admiral Thorne's holographic form appeared, his face etched with worry. "Johnny, Karina, we have a situation," Thorne said, his voice urgent. "We're detecting similar energy surges in other systems with precursor outposts. Whatever you did down there, it's triggered a galaxy-wide reaction." The implications of Thorne's words sank in. Johnny and Karina shared a look, understanding passing between them without words. "We need to split up," Karina said, voicing their shared thought. "One team here to contain this distortion and help the colony, another to address the other outbreaks." Johnny nodded, feeling the weight of the decision. "I'll take a team to investigate the other surges. You stay here, oversee the colony's recovery, and study this distortion. We need to understand what we're dealing with." As the rest of the team prepared for their respective missions, Johnny and Karina retreated to a quiet corner of the bridge. Their hands intertwined, bioluminescent patterns pulsing in harmony. "We've never been apart like this before," Karina said softly. Johnny closed his eyes, focusing on the connection between them. He felt it strengthen, deepen, becoming something more than just a mental link. "We won't be apart, not really. No matter the distance, I'll always be with you." Their minds merged, establishing a bond that transcended physical space. In that moment, they knew they would be able to communicate across the vastness of space, their connection a lifeline in the face of the challenges to come. The moment was interrupted by Zex's urgent call. "The containment field is ready, but we need to act now." Johnny and Karina shared one last look, their eyes conveying everything words couldn't. Then, with a final squeeze of their hands, they parted. Karina took command of the bridge, coordinating the deployment of the containment field. Energy beams lanced out from the ship, encircling the spatial distortion in a web of pulsating light. Meanwhile, Johnny boarded a smaller, faster ship with Zex and a select team of hybrid specialists. As they prepared for departure, he cast one last glance at Karina through the view screen. "Be safe," he projected through their link. "You too," came her response, tinged with love and commitment. As Johnny's ship broke away from the Epsilon Eridani system, heading towards the nearest affected outpost, Karina turned her attention to the contained distortion. She organized teams to assist the recovering colonists and set up a research base to study the anomaly. The crisis was nowhere near the end. Across the galaxy, precursor technology was awakening, causing disruptions that threatened the delicate balance of countless worlds. Johnny's team raced from system to system, using their advanced ship and hybrid abilities to contain the energy surges and minimize damage. Back in Epsilon Eridani, Karina delved deep into the mysteries of the distortion. Her enhanced mind processed vast amounts of data, seeking patterns and connections. As she worked, a startling revelation began to take shape. The energy field wasn't just an anomaly, it was a gateway, a portal to a vast network of precursor installations spread throughout the galaxy. The implications were staggering, offering untold possibilities for exploration and advancement, but also raising concerns about potential threats lurking within this ancient network. As Karina prepared to share her discovery with Johnny through their psychic link, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the brink of something monumental. The future of their hybrid civilization, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance, shaped by the choices they would make in the coming days. With restored dedication, Karina turned back to her research, knowing that every piece of information she uncovered could be crucial in the challenges that lay ahead. Across the stars, Johnny and his team pressed on, racing against time to contain the awakening precursor technology. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from this crucible of ancient power and newfound potential. As Johnny's ship raced through the vast expanse of space, the urgent message from Admiral Thorne still echoed in his mind. The situation was escalating faster than anyone had anticipated, with precursor technology awakening across multiple star systems. His ship's sensors picked up a distress signal as they approached the Sirius system. Johnny's eyes narrowed as he studied the readouts. "This is different," he muttered, his hybrid senses tingling with anticipation. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a massive space station orbiting Sirius B. But something was terribly wrong. The station's sleek metallic surface writhed and shifted, as if alive. "By the void!" Zex exclaimed, his tentacles curling in alarm. "That's not an energy surge, it's nanobots!" Johnny leaned forward, his enhanced vision zooming in on the station's surface. Billions of microscopic machines swarmed over the structure, consuming and transforming it at an alarming rate. "Our containment field won't work on this," one of the hybrid specialists said, her voice tight with concern. Johnny's mind raced, processing the new threat and formulating a strategy. "Zex, can we modify our ship's energy field generators? We need to disrupt their communication network." Zex's tentacles flew over the control panel. "Theoretically, yes, but it will require precise calibration. One mistake and we could fry our own systems." "Do it," Johnny ordered. He turned to the rest of his team. "Prepare for emergency maneuvers. We may need to get up close and personal with that swarm." As the ship approached the infested station, Johnny felt a familiar tingle at the base of his skull. Karina's voice echoed in his mind, clear despite the vast distance between them. "Johnny, I've made a breakthrough." Her thoughts rang with excitement and urgency. "The gateway leads to a precursor archive. There's terraforming technology that could help us repair the damage from the energy surges." Johnny's heart swelled with pride and love for his mate, but before he could respond, Karina's tone shifted. "There's more. Admiral Thorne just contacted me. Anti-hybridization extremists have taken over a shipyard in Alpha Centauri. They're threatening to build weapons to reverse the hybridization process. I'm assembling a team to handle the situation." Johnny's grip tightened on the ship's controls. "Be careful, Karina. I'll join you as soon as we contain this threat." "No time," Karina replied. "I'm sending Zex and a team to assist me. You focus on the nanobots. And Johnny, there's something strange about those weapons the extremists found. Be on your guard." As their connection faded, Johnny refocused on the task at hand. The ship shuddered as it entered the outermost layer of the nanobot swarm. "Energy field modifications complete," Zex announced. "Emitting disruptive frequency now." A wave of invisible energy pulsed from the ship. On the monitor, the swarm's movement became erratic. Billions of nanobots lost cohesion, their coordinated patterns dissolving into chaos. For a moment, Johnny allowed himself a smile of triumph, but his relief was short-lived. The nanobots began to coalesce, forming a massive, pulsating structure that dwarfed their ship. Tendrils of the semi-sentient construct lashed out, striking the station's remaining defenses with terrifying precision. "It's adapted," Zex exclaimed. "The disruption triggered some kind of failsafe. It's becoming more powerful, more organized." Johnny's hybrid mind processed the information at lightning speed. He saw only one option, and it was risky beyond measure. "I need to interface with it directly," he said, his voice calm despite the gravity of his words. "If I can link with the construct, I might be able to reprogram it from within." His team's protests were drowned out by the ship's proximity alarms. The nanobot construct was closing in, its tendrils probing for weaknesses in their defenses. Johnny stood, his body humming with nervous energy. "Zex, you're in command. If this doesn't work—" He paused, thinking of Karina. "Tell her I'm sorry." Before anyone could stop him, Johnny stepped into the airlock. As the outer doors hissed open, he launched himself into space directly toward the heart of the nanobot construct. The moment he made contact, Johnny's world exploded into light and data. His consciousness expanded, merging with billions of individual nanobots. He felt their purpose, their drive to consume and transform. And beneath it all, he sensed something ancient and powerful, the echoes of precursor technology that had given birth to this swarm. Johnny pushed deeper, fighting against the overwhelming flood of information. He had to find the core programming, the base code that drove the nanobot's behavior. If he could just reach it, alter it. A warning flashed through his hybrid nervous system. This was more than just a security failsafe. The nanobot construct was evolving, learning, adapting at an exponential rate, and it was using the very precursor technology embedded within it to do so. As Johnny grappled with the construct's rapidly changing code, A fragment of his conversation with Karina surfaced in his mind. The Void Harbinger weapons in Alpha Centauri somehow linked to the precursor technology they'd been encountering. The realization hit him like a supernova. This wasn't just a random awakening of ancient technology. It was all connected. The energy surges, the nanobot swarm, the weapons. Someone or something was orchestrating these events. With renewed commitment, Johnny pushed deeper into the construct's core. He had to neutralize this threat, not just for the Sirius system, but for the entire galaxy. As he prepared to rewrite the base code, he sent a silent plea across the stars. Karina, be careful. We're part of something bigger than we realized. Whatever you find in Alpha Centauri, it might be the key to understanding all of this. In that moment, separated by light years but united in purpose, Johnny and Karina stood at the precipice of a discovery that would reshape their understanding of the universe. As Johnny's consciousness merged further with the nanobot construct, and Karina's ship approached the extremist-held shipyard, both knew that their next actions would echo across the cosmos, determining the fate of not just their hybrid civilization, but potentially all sentient life in the galaxy. Galaxy. As Johnny's consciousness intertwined with the nanobot construct, he felt a surge of information flood his hybrid mind. The billions of microscopic machines weren't just a weapon. They were a sophisticated terraforming tool, designed by the precursors to reshape entire worlds. Johnny's enhanced physiology allowed him to process this revelation in microseconds. He began to see the underlying patterns in the nanobots' programming, complex algorithms that governed their behavior. With careful precision, he started to rewrite their base code, transforming them from a destructive force into a tool for repair. The space station's surface shimmered as the nanobots reversed their consumption, rebuilding damaged sections with astonishing speed. Johnny guided the swarm, his consciousness spread across the entire construct. He felt the station's systems coming back online, power flowing through newly reconstructed conduits. As the last of the damage was repaired, Johnny prepared to disengage from the nanobot swarm. Suddenly, an urgent transmission cut through his concentration. Admiral Thorne's holographic form materialized before him, face etched with concern. "Johnny, we have a crisis on Earth," the Admiral's voice crackled with static. "The energy surges have destabilized the planet's climate. We're seeing extreme weather patterns, geological instability. If we don't act fast, we could lose everything." Johnny's mind raced, processing the implications. He glanced at the reprogrammed nanobots, now docile and awaiting instructions. A plan began to form. "Admiral, I think I have a solution," Johnny said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "These nanobots, they're not just weapons. They're terraforming tools. I can use them to address Earth's environmental crisis." Without waiting for a response, Johnny directed the nanobot swarm into his ship's cargo hold. As the last of the microscopic machines filed in, he set a course for Earth, leaving a small team behind to oversee the final system checks on the Sirius space station. As Johnny's ship broke orbit, his thoughts turned to Karina. Their psychic link hummed with activity, and he sensed her tension as she approached the Alpha Centauri shipyard. He sent a burst of encouragement through their connection, knowing she faced her own challenges. In the Alpha Centauri system, Queen Karina's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the shipyard looming before them. She deployed her team of hybrid negotiators, their shuttle speeding toward the station as a diversionary tactic. Karina remained aboard the main ship, her enhanced senses scanning the shipyard. She detected unusual energy signatures, pinpointing the location of the Void Harbinger weapons. As the negotiators made contact with the extremists, led by the charismatic Marcus Vale, Karina formulated her plan. "Zex," she called to her chief science officer, "I need you to create a localized energy disruption. Can you use your knowledge of Void Harbinger systems to temporarily disable their weapons?" Zex's tentacles danced over the control panel. "It's possible, Your Majesty, but the window of opportunity will be brief." Karina nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with persistence. "That's all we need. Team Alpha, prepare for infiltration." As the negotiations dragged on, Karina's strike team slipped into the shipyard. They moved swiftly through the corridors, guided by Karina's telepathic directions. When they reached the production facility, they found more than they bargained for. Marcus Vale hadn't just acquired Void Harbinger weapons, he had integrated their technology with the shipyard's production lines. The result was a hybrid system capable of mass-producing anti-hybridization weapons on an unprecedented scale. Karina's voice crackled over the team's comms. "Change of plans. We need to secure that hybrid technology. We can't risk it falling into the wrong hands." As the team moved into position, Zex activated the energy disruption. The shipyard's lights flickered and alarms blared. In the confusion, Karina's team struck. The battle was brief but intense. With the extremist weapons disabled, Karina's hybrid soldiers quickly overwhelmed them. Marcus Vale, caught off guard by the sudden assault, was apprehended before he could mount an effective defense. As her team secured the hybrid technology, Karina felt a familiar tingle at the base of her skull. Johnny's thoughts pushed through their psychic link, urgent and focused. "Karina, there's a crisis on Earth. The energy surges have destabilized the planet's climate. I'm heading there now with a reprogrammed nanobot swarm, but I don't know if it will be enough." Karina's mind raced, connecting the dots between the hybrid technology they'd just secured and Johnny's nanobot swarm. "I'm on my way, Johnny. I think I have something that could help. We'll rendezvous in Earth orbit." As Karina's ship broke away from the Alpha Centauri shipyard, she turned to Zex. "Set a course for Earth, maximum speed, and prepare the hybrid technology for integration. We might have just found the key to saving our homeworld." The two ships converged on Earth, entering orbit almost simultaneously. Through the viewports, they could see the planet's atmosphere roiling with massive storm systems. Geological sensors detected increased tectonic activity, with earthquakes and volcanic eruptions threatening population centers across the globe. Johnny wasted no time deploying the nanobot swarm. The microscopic machines spread through the atmosphere, working to reduce greenhouse gases and repair damaged ecosystems. On the surface, they stabilized geological hotspots, reinforcing fault lines and cooling magma chambers. But as Johnny monitored the nanobot's progress, he realized the bitter truth. It wasn't enough. The damage was too extensive, the planet's systems too far out of balance. As despair threatened to overwhelm him, Karina's ship pulled alongside. Their eyes met through the viewports, and a spark of hope reignited in Johnny's chest. The two ships docked, allowing the couple to reunite physically for the first time since Epsilon Eridani. Their embrace was brief, but charged with emotion, their bioluminescent patterns synchronizing in a dance of light and color. "The hybrid technology," Karina explained quickly. "If we integrate it with your nanobot swarm, we might be able to create a more powerful terraforming system." They worked feverishly, combining human ingenuity, Sakari biology, Void Harbinger technology, and precursor engineering. The result was a new system that pulsed with potential, ready to reshape their world. As they prepared to deploy their creation, long-range sensors lit up with warnings. Multiple wormholes were opening at the edge of the solar system. Massive ships of unknown origin began to emerge, their designs suggesting a level of technology beyond anything they had encountered. Johnny and Karina shared a look of mingled awe and apprehension. Their efforts to stabilize the galaxy had attracted attention from a civilization that might hold the key to understanding the true nature of the precursor legacy. As the unknown ships approached, Johnny and Karina stood united, ready to face whatever challenges this new encounter might bring. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Balance. The unknown ships loomed closer, their alien designs growing more distinct against the backdrop of stars. Johnny and Karina exchanged a determined glance before springing into action. "Deploy the terraforming system," Johnny ordered, his fingers dancing across the control panel. The newly integrated technology hummed to life, a fusion of nanobot swarms and hybrid innovations. As it activated, a wave of energy pulsed from their ship, spreading across Earth's atmosphere. The effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. Storm systems began to dissipate, their fury diminishing as the nanobots worked to stabilize air pressure and temperature gradients. On the ground, tectonic plates shifted minutely, guided by the terraforming system to relieve built-up stress and prevent catastrophic earthquakes. Karina monitored the progress, her bioluminescent patterns flashing with excitement. "It's working, Johnny! The planetary systems are beginning to normalize." But their celebration was short-lived as the approaching alien fleet demanded their attention. Johnny directed their sensors toward the massive vessels, his eyes widening at the readings. "These ships, they're precursor technology, but far beyond anything we've seen before," he said, voice tinged with awe and apprehension. Karina leaned in, her tentacles brushing against Johnny's arm as she studied the data. "Look at that energy signature. It's disrupting our long-range communications." As if to confirm her observation, the ship's communication array crackled with static before falling silent. They were cut off from the rest of their civilization, alone in the face of this new development. Johnny's eyebrows furrowed. "We can't let them reach Earth, not when we're still vulnerable." Karina nodded, already plotting a course. "Agreed, let's intercept them." Their hybrid vessel surged forward, engines pulsing with a combination of human and Sakari technology. As they closed the distance to the alien fleet, the enormity of the ships became apparent. The largest vessel dwarfed anything in the hybrid civilization's arsenal, its surface etched with glowing symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Suddenly, a beam of energy lanced out from the lead ship, enveloping their vessel. Johnny tensed, expecting an attack, but instead found their ship being gently pulled towards the massive alien craft. "Some kind of tractor beam," Karina observed, her tentacles working furiously over the controls. "I can't break free." As their ship was drawn into a cavernous docking bay, Johnny and Karina prepared themselves for first contact. The bay doors sealed behind them, and a shimmering energy field dissipated, indicating it was safe to disembark. They stepped out onto the alien deck, senses on high alert. The interior of the ship was a marvel of organic and technological integration, with pulsing conduits and living metal that seemed to breathe. A group of beings approached, their appearances a striking blend of multiple species. Some had the bioluminescent patterns of the Sakari, others the bipedal stance of humans, and still others displayed characteristics neither Johnny nor Karina had ever seen before. One of the beings stepped forward, its form shifting slightly as if struggling to settle on a single appearance. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in Johnny and Karina's minds. "Welcome, children of Earth and Sakari Prime. We are the guardians of legacy, descendants of those who have walked the path you now tread." Johnny and Karina exchanged glances, their shock evident. The being continued, its mental voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "We have watched your civilization's growth with great interest. The crises you have faced were the final tests, trials to determine your readiness for the next stage of evolution." Karina's bioluminescent patterns flashed with a mix of emotions. "You orchestrated those events? The energy surges? The nanobot swarms?" The Guardian's form rippled, a gesture that might have been a nod. "We set the stage, but your responses were your own. You have proven yourselves worthy of the full legacy of the precursors." Johnny stepped forward, his hybrid physiology humming with tension. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means," another Guardian interjected, "that we offer you access to the sum total of precursor knowledge and technology. But be warned, accepting this gift will irrevocably change the course of your civilization." The implications of this offer hung heavy in the air. Johnny and Karina stood at a crossroads, the fate of their entire hybrid society resting on their decision. Before they could respond, a surge of energy pulsed through the ship. The Guardians turned as one, their attention drawn to a holographic display that materialized in the center of the room. "It seems," the first Guardian said, "that events beyond our control have accelerated the timeline." The hologram showed a distant sector of the galaxy, where a massive fleet of ships was stirring to life. Johnny recognized the design immediately, his blood running cold. "Void harbingers," he whispered. Karina's tentacles writhed with agitation. "But how? We neutralized their threat." The Guardian's form shifted, taking on a more somber aspect. "What you encountered before was merely a fraction of their true force. This fleet has lain dormant for millennia, awaiting the right conditions to awaken." As they watched, the Void Harbinger fleet began to move, its trajectory clear. They were headed straight for Earth. The Guardian turned back to Johnny and Karina, its mental voice urgent. Your civilization stands at a precipice. The choice before you is not just about embracing precursor technology, but about the very survival of your hybrid society. Johnny and Karina shared a look of understanding. The weight of their responsibility pressed down on them, but in that moment, they knew what they had to do. We need to defend Earth, Johnny said, his voice firm. Karina nodded, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with perseverance. But we'll need your help. The Guardians conferred silently for a moment before the lead being addressed them again. We will provide limited assistance, but the true test lies in your hands. Your civilization must prove it can stand against this threat largely on its own. With that, the Guardians began to share their knowledge, streams of data flooding into the hybrid ship systems. Johnny and Karina absorbed the information, their minds racing with new possibilities and strategies. As they worked to integrate this advanced technology with their own systems, a plan began to form. They would create a temporary defense grid around Earth using precursor technology, while simultaneously developing a countermeasure against the Void Harbinger's dehybridization weapons. Karina's eyes widened as she made a sudden connection. The energy signature of this Void Harbinger fleet, it matches the weapons we found at the Alpha Centauri shipyard. Johnny's expression hardened as he realized the implications. Marcus Vale, he must have had contact with this dormant fleet. We need to interrogate him, Karina said, her tentacles curling with purpose. He might have crucial information about their weaknesses. As they prepared to return to their ship and set their plan in motion, the lead Guardian approached them one last time. Remember, it said, its mental voice resonating with ancient power. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but also with potential. The future of your civilization rests in your hands. With those words echoing in their minds, Johnny and Karina boarded their ship, ready to face the greatest challenge their hybrid civilization had ever encountered. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as they raced against time to prepare for the coming storm. Storm of the coming Void Harbinger invasion. As they approached Earth, Johnny and Karina's tenacity solidified into a steely tenacity. The hybrid vessel's engines hummed with newfound power, a result of the precursor technology integration. Johnny's fingers danced across the control panel, fine-tuning their approach vector. Beside him, Karina's tentacles worked in perfect harmony, adjusting the ship's systems to accommodate the influx of new data. Admiral Thorne, status report, Johnny called out over the comms. The grizzled voice of the Admiral crackled through. Defensive formation is holding, Johnny. Hybrid reinforcements are arriving on schedule. We're as ready as we'll ever be. As if on cue, the first wave of the Void Harbinger fleet burst into view, their ships materializing from hyperspace like a swarm of angry hornets. The enemy vessels bristled with weaponry, their hulls adorned with ominous, pulsating patterns. Johnny's eyes narrowed as he took in the sight. They're deploying their specialized ships. Karina, activate the shield. Queen Karina nodded, her bioluminescent patterns flashing with intense concentration. She interfaced directly with the ship's systems, channeling the power of their hybrid physiology into the modified shield technology. A shimmering bubble of energy expanded outward from their vessel, enveloping Earth and the defending fleet in its protective embrace. The timing was impeccable. Moments later, the first barrage of dehybridization energy slammed against the shield. The impact sent tremors through their ship, but the shield held. Johnny gritted his teeth, feeling the strain of the attack reverberating through the systems. Shield integrity at 92% and holding, he reported, a hint of relief in his voice. Karina's eyes suddenly widened, her tentacles writhing with excitement. Johnny, look at their formation. There's a weakness, just like Marcus said. Johnny studied the enemy fleet's arrangement, quickly spotting the vulnerability Karina had identified. Good catch. Admiral Thorne, we're transmitting coordinates now. Focus your attack on grid sector Alpha 7. A group of hybrid ships broke from the main defensive line, their engines flaring as they maneuvered into position. They unleashed a synchronized volley of fire, their weapons enhanced by precursor technology. The attack struck home, tearing through the Void Harbinger's command and control systems. Chaos erupted among the enemy ranks. Ships collided, their coordinated movements dissolving into disarray. Johnny allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction before refocusing on the task at hand. "Let's press the advantage," he said to Karina, his hands already guiding their ship into a daring maneuver. Their vessel wove through the battlefield with impossible grace, a testament to their enhanced hybrid abilities and the ship's advanced systems. Enemy fire sailed past them, missing by mere inches as Johnny and Karina anticipated each attack with preternatural accuracy. As they flew, their bioluminescent patterns pulsed in perfect synchronization, creating a mesmerizing light show that inspired the hybrid defenders around them. Their ship became a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of battle. Suddenly, the space around them lit up with a new energy signature. Johnny's sensors flared to life, detecting a series of activations in Earth's orbit. "The Guardians," Karina breathed, her tentacles curling with a mix of surprise and relief. True to their word, the Guardians had activated a network of hidden precursor satellites. The devices emitted a field of energy that further weakened the Void Harbinger's dehybridization weapons, turning the tide of battle even further in the defenders' favor. As the fight raged on, Johnny spared a moment to check on the planet below. The terraforming system they had deployed earlier continued its work, adapting to the ongoing conflict. Nanobots swarmed over areas damaged by orbital debris, repairing and reinforcing Earth's recovering ecosystems. Their moment of respite was short-lived. A massive energy surge at the edge of the solar system caught their attention. Johnny's blood ran cold as he saw the readings. "Karina, look at this," he said, his voice tight with tension. A behemoth of a ship had emerged from hyperspace, a Void Harbinger dreadnought that dwarfed all other vessels in the battle. Its hull pulsed with malevolent energy, and at its heart, a superweapon began to charge. Karina's tentacles coiled tightly. "If that weapon fires, it could revert the entire planet's population. We can't let that happen." Johnny nodded, his mind racing through possibilities. "We need to take it out from the inside. It's our only shot." Without hesitation, they plotted a course for the dreadnought. As they approached, Admiral Thorne's voice came over the comms once more. "Whatever you two are planning, we've got your back. The fleet will provide cover. Just get it done." Johnny and Karina shared a look of understanding. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of their hybrid civilization. As they neared the massive Void Harbinger vessel, Johnny activated their newly developed cloaking technology. The ship shimmered and seemed to fade from view, a fusion of precursor science and hybrid innovation, rendering them invisible to the dreadnought's sensors. They glided past the outer defenses undetected, searching for a vulnerable access point. "There," Karina pointed, her keen eyes spotting a maintenance hatch. They docked with practiced precision, the sound of their ship latching onto the dreadnought's hull lost in the chaos of the battle outside. Johnny and Karina shared one last look, their bond conveying more than words ever could. "Ready?" Johnny asked, his hand hovering over the airlock controls. Karina's bioluminescent patterns flashed with tenacity. "Always." With that, they opened the hatch and stepped into the belly of the beast, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their mission to save Earth and their hybrid civilization. Civilization. As they ventured deeper into the massive Void Harbinger dreadnought, Johnny and Karina's hybrid senses were on high alert. The corridors pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly energy that seemed to resist their very presence. Suddenly, a surge of power coursed through the ship, causing the couple to stumble. Johnny steadied Karina, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in sync as they regained their balance. "They're powering up the superweapon," Karina whispered, her tentacles coiling tightly. Johnny nodded grimly. "We need to move faster." As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a group of Void Harbinger guards. Without hesitation, Johnny and Karina sprang into action. Their enhanced hybrid abilities allowed them to move with superhuman speed and precision. Johnny ducked under a guard's energy blade, countering with a swift uppercut that sent the enemy flying. Karina's tentacles whipped through the air, disarming two more guards before they could even raise their weapons. Working in perfect harmony, the couple dispatched the remaining guards with ease. As the last one fell, Johnny and Karina shared a quick glance, their bond stronger than ever in the heat of battle. They pressed on, navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the dreadnought. The ship's internal defenses activated, firing energy bolts and deploying force fields to impede their progress. But with their combined strength and the knowledge gleaned from the Guardians, Johnny and Karina overcame each obstacle. Finally, they reached the heart of the ship, the control room for the superweapon. The massive chamber hummed with power, a swirling vortex of energy at its center, growing more intense by the second. "We need to shut it down," Johnny said, his eyes scanning the alien control panels. Karina's tentacles danced over the interfaces, her hybrid physiology allowing her to interface directly with the ship's systems. "I'm trying, but the failsafes are complex. We need more time." Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. A booming voice filled the chamber, speaking in the harsh language of the void harbingers. Johnny's translator kicked in, relaying the ominous message. "Intruders detected in the weapon control room. Initiating final firing sequence." Johnny's heart raced as he watched the energy vortex grow even more unstable. "Karina, we're out of time. We need another solution." As if in answer to his plea, a familiar mental voice resonated in their minds. The Guardian's presence washed over them, bringing with it a sense of calm and purpose. "You have proven yourselves worthy," the lead Guardian's voice echoed. "The time has come for your final trial." The air around Johnny and Karina began to shimmer, and they felt an inexorable pull drawing them away from the dreadnought. In a flash of blinding light, they found themselves transported to the Guardian's massive precursor vessel hovering above Earth. As their vision cleared, they saw they were standing in a vast chamber, unlike anything they had ever encountered. Pulsating energy filled the room, creating patterns of light that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The lead Guardian materialized before them, its form shifting and flowing like liquid starlight. "Johnny, Queen Karina, you stand at the threshold of a new era for your civilization. This chamber will test the limits of your hybrid physiology and the strength of your bond." Johnny reached out and took Karina's hand, their fingers intertwining as they faced the Guardian. "We're ready," he said, his voice steady and resolute. Karina's bioluminescent patterns flashed in agreement. "Whatever it takes to save our people and our home." The Guardian's form rippled with approval. "Then step forward into the energy field. Your final trial begins now." Hand in hand, Johnny and Karina moved towards the swirling vortex of energy at the center of the chamber. As they crossed the threshold, they felt the power wash over them, enveloping their bodies in a cocoon of pure energy. Their consciousnesses began to merge, thoughts and memories flowing between them like water. Johnny experienced the weight of Karina's royal responsibilities, the pride she felt in her people, and the fear she had harbored about losing her identity in the hybridization process. Karina, in turn, felt Johnny's deep love for Earth, the pain of leaving his home behind, and the unwavering dedication that had driven him to protect both his old world and his new one. As their minds intertwined further, their hybrid abilities amplified exponentially. They became aware of a vast network of connections spanning the galaxy, the remnants of precursor technology that had laid dormant for eons. With their combined strength and newfound awareness, Johnny and Karina reached out through this network. They felt the pulse of countless worlds, the ebb and flow of cosmic energies, and the intricate dance of life across the universe. Guided by an instinct they didn't fully understand, the couple began to reactivate dormant precursor systems throughout the galaxy. As they did so, they saw the effects rippling outward, volatile regions of space stabilizing, wounded planets beginning to heal, and the subtle influence of the technology guiding developing civilizations towards peace and cooperation. The trial pushed them to their limits, forcing them to confront their deepest fears and insecurities. But with each challenge overcome, their bond grew stronger, their hybrid nature evolving into something greater than the sum of its parts. As the final systems clicked into place, Johnny and Karina felt a surge of power unlike anything they had experienced before. Their combined consciousness expanded beyond the confines of their physical forms, encompassing the vastness of the galaxy itself. In that moment of transcendence, they understood the true purpose of the precursor technology, to guide the evolution of sentient species towards a harmonious, interconnected state of being. and they realized that their hybrid civilization was the key to unlocking this potential for the entire galaxy. Slowly, gently, the energy field began to dissipate. Johnny and Karina's physical forms separated, but the mental and emotional connection they had forged remained stronger than ever. As they opened their eyes, they found themselves back in the Guardian's chamber, forever changed by their experience. The lead Guardian approached, its form shimmering with approval. "You have exceeded all expectations. Your hybrid civilization has proven itself worthy of joining the galactic community of advanced species." Johnny and Karina stood tall, their hands still clasped together, as they prepared to face the new future they had helped create, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.